is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, welcome to Thursday, coming in towards the end of the week, and let's see what's happening on the roads today. Yes, we know quite a number of them are not quite sure where to go or where not to use. Explanations that have been given in terms of where you can or cannot go this morning. Let's start off with that. Number of bridges closed down. Meru Highway, we're looking at closure of that. Also, one thing that's very important to note on the parts of the Thika Superhighway today, let's look at that particular area where it's going out towards, here we are. So the closure of Thika Superhighway at Kahawa Sukari Drift, we're looking at drift between Kahawa Barracks and Kenyatta University for Thika Road traffic. It's closed because of the rain, of course. Users have been cautioned against using this road, so please do not. There are options for you to use Kiambu Road and turn off the northern bypass towards Roiro. So there's the option for you to use coming off Thika Superhighway this morning. Let's take a look at what happens as we get into the morning today. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Online, mobile, and on radio. Facebook at SpiceFM KE. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The only way to start your day. Why, my friend, Kenya? Let us pray. Where, my friend? Mungu tusaidie.
My goodness.
Mungu tusaidie. Siti.
Yes.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Eric.
You don't take some of these things for granted.
You weather, my friend.
Where?
Climate. This thing is really very serious.
You know, there's been flooding in the region. You know, you've seen flooding in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. It's flooded heavily. You've seen flooding in Malawi. You've seen flooding in, I think, South Africa.
Yes.
Never seen this kind of flooding in my lifetime in Kenya.
No. Even people who don't live in Kenya are beginning to marvel at the flooding we've had.
Yeah.
Baka Pope has spoken.
Baka Pope alisema, I am spiritually close to the people of Kenya at this time when a severe flood has claimed many lives and destroyed vast areas. Let us pray together for all those who suffer the effects of this natural disaster. This was Pope Francis who tweeted this yesterday. Hata aliangalia kwa Twitter hivi because no.
Na waumini wanaisha jamani.
Where? It's tough. Ndu?
It is.
How are you?
I'm all right.
How was the road this morning as you were coming?
Well,
better than yesterday?
Well, better than yesterday, of course, but the drizzle was crazy. And now, this is the thing with what we are seeing now. When we see yesterday that parts of Katani Road usually is fine. When we see that it's coming closer and that small vehicles are actually now inundated by the water, essentially.
Where?
You know that this is... when I saw the Katani videos and pictures yesterday, I said, Apana.
Yeah, it was crazy. Kahawa Sukari, they even had to close the road.
Kahawa Sukari Road is closed until further notice. And you know, and it's interesting the wording Kenya has used there. that we're urging you not to attempt to use that road because we don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also facing the reality that folks might actually attempt to use the road in order to pass. Because in terms of an option, at that point, you're thinking, well, look at where I'm going, right?
You can see it's just here.
Yeah, but in between is this water. And this is another thing that was explained to me yesterday, is that you could see the water on top is still, but the undercurrent and the speed at which it is going is what is getting people drowned. The top of the water is peaceful. It looks okay. It looks calm.
Like
so when you're entering, you think that you can get through. The undercurrent is... That's the problem.
But at least Kenya have started doing the thing that we've been asking them to do.
Absolutely, and I love it.
Well, on the part of, on the Twitter, I do not know whether it's happening on ground. Because if you get, for example, this one there, they said the Kamulu-Kangundo Road has been closed at the Joska at the River Bridge following the ongoing heavy downpour experienced upstream that led to flooding. The authority is cautioning road users against any attempts to use this affected section, and they say, you're advised to use the following alternative routes. Joska Kamulu bound traffic to use the Joska, Koma, Kaloleni, Mua interchange, Cabanas, Ruai, Kamulu. You're going to Kamulu from Joska. Go to Kamulu bound, Kaloleni, Mua interchange, Cabanas, Ruai, Kamulu. Kamulu, Joska bound traffic. Come from Kamulu, go to Ruai, Cabanas, Mua interchange, like that to Nairobi. Good thing when they announce it on Twitter like this. Now, I hope that along this road, you can say 1 kilometer ahead, road closed. If you're going to Nyeri, this is the alternative. They own the infrastructure. They can put up all these signs quick, fast. And at least have then traffic marshals work with traffic police officers, tell them, be there, please. Start diverting traffic and telling people where they can go.
I agree. And I think that all of the what is happening right now is fodder enough for certain sectors to actually make decisions about what's going on currently. Because the rain keeps coming down. We're looking at Thursday today and Friday. Again, we have to go with what Kenya Met is saying. Thursday, Friday will be the most significant rainfall between now and the 6th. So
today is Thursday.
Yeah, so it's coming. That's what we're saying. Today and tomorrow.
Where?
It's coming. So, can other sectors make decisions? I do not think that the Ministry of Education needs to wait until Sunday night to say, you know what, guys? We have been told that it's going to take another 2 weeks, so we wait for 2 weeks, then we'll open school. We will not die. But if we attempt to go before, guess what? We will.
Let me tell you what we shall be discussing today. At 7 a.m., we will talk about the realities of modern-day child trafficking. Monica Kay is a consortium coordinator at Busara, and Wycliffe Ouma is national project coordinator at ILO Kenya. We're talking about child trafficking. There have been all these cases, these children's homes, and what's happening in the children's homes, what's happening in some maternity wards, what's happening in some backstreet clinics. Right? Let's talk about it in detail at 7 a.m. We'll be joined by those two. And then at 8 o'clock, let's see what is happening in Mombasa, particularly with this kind of floods and what's going on. Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir is the governor of Mombasa County. He'll be joining us at 8 o'clock. Let's get an update of what is happening there and then also get to speak about how the county government is doing. He has been due for his quarterly visit to Spice, so now that he's extended that quarter, atakuja kwa viboko. 9 a.m. Dr. Gamaliel Hassan is the CEO of Stima Deposit Taking Sacco. You know about Stima Sacco? Yes, it's a big Sacco. Initially, it was started by people who worked in the power sector. Usually then, those were just Kenya Power. Kenya Power was a generator, was a distributor, was a reseller, was an everything. Then when those institutions were broken up into whatever, Ketraco, Kengen, Kenya Power, and others came in, Rerek and others, all of them joined. And then they even expanded and said, no, anybody who's willing to be a member of Stima Sacco can join. Tukaenda huko sisi wote. It's rich. He'll be here at 9 a.m. to talk to us about the performance of Stima Sacco It is 18 minutes after 6. We are live streaming the show. Ndu, please tell us about the weather. Sawa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
This morning, a bit of a drizzle in Nairobi, highs of 23 and lows of 16. It's raining in Nakuru this morning at 17 with highs of 24 and lows of 15, and cloudy, looking towards rain in Nyeri at 18 with highs of 25. Eldoret is cloudy at 15 with highs of 22 and lows of 15. Mombasa is clear for now at 26 with highs of 33, and we'll see highs of 32. In a mostly cloudy Malindi at 28. Rain showers in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 20. Kakamega is cloudy at the moment, looking towards rain at 20 with highs of 26 and lows of 19. Kampala is cloudy at 21 with highs of 27, and mostly clear in Dar es Salaam at 26. We'll see highs of 32. Johannesburg, mostly cloudy at 16 with highs of 25, and Mogadishu at 26 is cloudy with highs of 33. Addis Ababa is sunny at 15 with highs of 25, and Lagos is partly cloudy at 27 with highs of 32. Kinshasa clear at 26 with highs of 35. We're looking into a sunny Beijing on Thursday afternoon with highs of 28 and lows of 12. Paris is cloudy at 11 and going to highs of 14 and lows of 9. It's raining heavily in London at 12 degrees. We'll see highs of 19 and lows of 10, and around things out in New York, where Wednesday night is cloudy at 12. Coming into Thursday, highs of 25 and lows of 11.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, who's online?
Okay, good morning, everybody. As we see you today, checking in. Wow. Larry's Vice says he's locked in this morning. The rains are back in Emuhaya. We thank God so far it is still well. This is good. Salam alaikum. Watching from Voy Rogers. Good morning to you. Good morning, Ndu, CT, Eric, Yego. Charlotte has left us, and Nyaboke. So Evan says, my condolences to those who've lost loved ones. Please be careful this time. Indeed. Ann Gore is tuned in this morning. Nawapenda sana, asante sana. Takupenda pia. Dominic Abuga is tuned in this morning and says, have a good day ahead. Kabogo G says, good morning, guys. Gikambura is locked. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa this morning. Sebet says, good morning. Good to be home. Have a good day. Oh, wait a minute. He says you've just gotten to Nairobi after 2 years. Wow. Sebet, welcome to Kenya.
After 2 years? All right. Where were you?
Where were you?
Maybe he was in Thika.
It's possible. It's possible. Aisha Rashid says, good morning. Tuned in from the concrete jungle. Well, not so concrete anymore. Onganyi Malala says, good morning, tuned in, Team Spice. Looking forward to constructive discussions, indeed. Joseph Kimonge says, tune in from Kisii. Patrick Mbai is tuned in, listening from Tharaka Nithi, Chuka Town. Good morning, folks. Hope you all are safe. Well, we are, for we're dry. How is Kenya handling the floods? When will Root of the Man of God declare a state of emergency? Well, that's a good question. Sir George Gashoiri is tuned in this morning and says, looking forward to a great show today. Hello, Princess Ndu. Oh, good morning. Eric, CT, Edna. 2 words for the day. Narcissist. Narcissism. Okay. Okay, fine.
Where is that coming from?
I don't know.
What's inspired this vocabulary?
Or is it? Talk to us. Alfred Chariot says, good morning this Thursday to Monday. Ndu, CT, Eric. Can Charlotte be allowed to come and wave at everyone? Charlotte did like that too.
Charlotte, you call Ignatius Openje.
I'm telling you, wave at the people, Ignatius.
Openje.
And Miguel.
Yes, and there's Miguel.
There's Miguel.
Yes, Miguel.
Okay. You expect to see a guy with a cape and a cane.
He does actually have
with a cigar and smelling of expensive cologne.
Yeah.
My name is Miguel. Okay, sorry. Moving on swiftly. Hey, good day from Houston. Kenya Kwanzaa shenanigans makes Juha Kalulu look like an amateur. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Juha Kalulu?
Oui.
Aha.
Qui est-ce?
Juha Kalulu ni character moja wa katuni.
Cartoony.
Okay. Aitwa Juha Kalulu.
Okay.
Kuna mbwa wake anaitwa Simba.
Okay.
There's a character in animation in the Swahili paper, Taifa Leo.
Okay, Taifa Leo.
Yes.
Right, Kalulu. Got it. So, Tibbs Muga says, good morning. Hope you all are safe. Yes. Continue to pray for those who are not. Watching from Doha in Qatar, that's where Liban Misiani is. Kenya needs to be like Chad. Nobody knows if the country really exists in Africa. Good Lord. Samuel Bakura, what on earth are you saying? Isaac Moy says, good morning, tuning from Doha. It's also raining over here. Climate change is real. Let's keep safe, guys. Ann Gore says, Jamaican can put size on the road.
Yup.
Amaya Okeo says, good morning, tuned in. Raining in Nakuru. Yes, it is raining in Nakuru this morning. Hussein Siad Muhammad is also tuned in from Calgary. This is in Canada. And says, the Situation Room is now firmly part of my evening wind down. Well done. Football Shirt Tips says, locked in from Wangige. Good morning, everybody. Looking forward to a fantastic show. Quite a number of people this morning. According to the spokesman, the school calendar is more important to disrupt just because it's flooding. But if it persists, we can always do another 1 a.m. announcement. Okay, sawa. Leo City Anakam, Nigeria. Okay, how? Because of your hat. Okay. You know what that hat is? I think he's likening it to the hat that Igbo men in Nigeria wear. It's called Okpuozo. Okpuozo. That's what he's saying.
It's called
Can you say Okpuozo?
Okpuozo.
AKPU. Then the other word is OZO.
Okpuozo.
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 Very well done. That's what your hat is called. So from now on, when we see...
So I am wearing an Okpuozo.
No, you're wearing Okpuozo. Yeah. Usually it's red. It's red and black and white. But we'll allow you for today. Julius says he's tuned in from a beautiful wet morning in Eldoret. Hey. Gibson Yamoya says, good morning from Gashie, Kiambu County. James Mine has also tuned in. The rains are not as heavy today in Hargeisa. Okay. In Kenya, they are. Greetings from a cold and wet Machakos. That's where Patrick Mugo is. Good to check in, guys, and see that everybody is okay. We know that there are quite a number of people this morning who are not. Yeah. So, I'm glad that you guys are all here with us this morning as we get into it. And remember those who have a hard time today.
Indeed. City?
Yes, please.
Proverb.
Right. We're still in the Republic of Algeria. A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
Yes. So when you decide to keep hidden among your 10 best friends something private and you swear them to secrecy.
This thing, it always basically says that you can't trust people. You can't trust even your close. We are all untrustworthy.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
No. We're not all untrustworthy. It just depends on what the titbit is about. The secrets I can keep easily. The secrets I have difficulties keeping. Because you hear it, you feel this one, this one must be some buzzword. I mean, people must know.
Untrustworthy.
No. No.
You are not to be trusted.
Spreadworthy. Because you...
It's so interesting because I was watching this clip. It's very interesting. I was watching this clip yesterday, and so you know how they do the playbacks on reality TV? And so this girl had told her friend this thing, and you're like, oh, and she told her, you know what? I'm not going to share it until you do. Okay? When you are comfortable sharing this information, that's when we'll have a chat about it. The next scene, literally the next scene, guy walks in, oh, by the way, did you know? I was like, God heaven.
10 best friends.
Where?
And the thing is, I don't think secrets are being divulged here willy-nilly. Your 10 best friends also choose their friends and then swear them to secrecy. So everybody that year has been sworn to secrecy.
This is it. I have another story. So in this Standard Group, last week, I was going downstairs. A guy comes and tells me, he's like, I'm only telling you this thing. I'm not telling anybody else. So please don't tell anybody. I said, no problem. Ndu Okoh walked to the cafeteria. Somebody told me that thing that this guy has told me. I'm the only one in the world.
but they were right.
Who knows? I said, wow. Okay.
You are the only person in the world they are telling.
Hey, okay? I was like, okay. Even your own secrets.
Yes,
your own secret, you've told somebody else.
There's somebody else.
It's their own secret.
Yes.
And that person was telling you that secret of that person.
That person had told me it's only me.
10 best friends had been sworn to secrecy.
I said that you're wonderful. I had to give him a thumbs up in absentia.
You should not even trust yourself. That's the whole moral of the story. Because this person, when they were coming to tell you, they knew they have told someone else, but they're like, I'm only telling you. Why would you lie?
Yours. Please don't tell anybody.
So that's a preamble for actually telling people things. You want them to know, but you want to pretend you don't really want them to know.
I wouldn't tell anyone this.
No, so I can't.
I'm just sharing this with you.
Yeah. I can't.
I just want you to know because, I was like, oh,
because you strike me as sort of person who's
I would think that
you were being fattened for slaughter, my friend. The next thing that person would have come to you now, you see that thing I was telling you? I need your help. Yeah. And you're the only one who can help me because you're the only one
who can keep secrets. Yes, and when something is really this profound, honestly, this is something I can't divulge to anybody.
So you're the only person who can help me.
And by the way, it doesn't really involve money.
It can never.
That one is further fattening.
Monkey, they sleep. Trouble go away. Cannot be me.
Okay, it's past. Do this. Tell us about traffic quick.
Sorry.
Sawa.
Okay.
And then we shall look at the headlines.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, not much buzzing this morning, and we're going to see that probably less movement coming off of Thika Superhighway, and that's coming out from that Royal Junction. Folks have been told not to use that. So here we are using the northern bypass. If you're coming in from Royal, use the northern bypass. You're going to have to go round and then come through Kiambu Road. Also, if you're attempting to go towards Royal, because we've seen that part Kahawa Sukari being closed down, you're going to get onto Kiambu Road, use the northern bypass, and then connect to Royal the longer way, indeed, but it's just to be safe, right? Please do not attempt to get onto that place that is currently waterlogged. Sawa. All right, let's look at what's coming in from Survey through towards the city. We already see the hold up. That's because of the tunnel. But apart from that, nothing much popping right about now. Let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, let's look at the headlines.
All right, headlines this morning on the front page of the Standard today. Labour gloom as Ruto dashes pay rise hopes. Why now? Why should you dash hopes when hopes are already dashed? Despite a spirited push for a 22.5% salary hike, employees walked away with little to smile about. The expectations of a big increase to counter the high cost of living dashed, even as President promised only 6% raise with the implementation left to the Labour CS. Okay, so sorry.
Okay.
My Mahu deaths hit 50 as floods claim more lives and property. Look at that picture. Okay, look at that picture on the front page of the Standard and look at, it's just part of the rescue efforts happening currently, but it just looks like it's so difficult because we're dealing with water. This is sludge, this is mud, and to find bodies, this is what is being done here because there's no chance. Well, maybe there is a chance as long as there's a God in heaven. Maybe there is a chance that there are bodies here of folks who might be alive, but look, when we look at what's happening here, chances of them finding anybody alive under this are slim to none.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. The Kenya Defence Forces, having been sent out under the order, and the National Youth Service under the order of the President, clear a waterway on the Nakuru Maimahu Highway blocked by debris dumped by raging floods in Monday's Kijabe Gully tragedy. The efforts are part of a search and recovery efforts for over 80 missing individuals. Okay.
Wow.
So it's possible that now the above 70, the 80 missing are under this debris. When they will find them, we do not know or how.
It's hard.
It's crazy. DP in Dindi war plays out in visit to landslide site. Do you see now? I'm not even going to continue with that. Let's just keep it moving. On the front page of the Daily Nation today, Ruto firm on taxes, intern doctors pay. He yesterday ruled out a tax reprieve for Kenyans whose salaries have taken a beating in the last year and who face even more tax measures, including shift deductions in July. This even as the head of state urged striking doctors to accept the government's offer for interns and go back to work. Doctors said, it can never be us. Maroon roads closed and homes underwater. That's on the top page. That's on the top part of the Nation. This is a picture here of a flooded section of the Elbergan-Joro Road at Kamwara in Nakuru County. Transport paralyzed for hours, causing a heavy traffic snarl-up on both sides of the road. Thousands of Kenyans were stranded yesterday, with many roads closed and homes submerged. Not flooded in, submerged, following heavy rains that have pounded several parts of the country, leaving a trail of death and destruction. Hope wanes for missing victims of Maimahiu is also there on the tickers. Yatani fails to block EACC's 1.2 billion corruption probe. The High Court has declined to block the anti-graft agency from investigating former Treasury CS Ukur Yatani over claims of embezzlement of public funds amounting to 1.2 billion shillings. This was during his tenure as Marsabit governor. New budget slash by 267 billion shillings on revenue dip. And they've gone ahead to say, you know what? We're going to cut it by that because we just don't know where it's going to come from. Okay.
Okay. The Business Daily, they have, that small headline there. Treasury slashes budget by 267 billion shillings on revenue shortfall. This is next year's budget as they are preparing it. They wanted to spend a lot of money. They've looked at it and seen we cannot spend this much money. It's now going to be 267 billion shillings less than what we had expected because revenue shortfall. We are not collecting as much as we hoped we would. Okay? On the other side, Ruto has said what? We are not lowering taxes. We have to keep.
Where are we going to get money from?
Okay. Banks' pension funds blocked from juicy infrastructure bonds. Institutional investors such as pension funds, commercial banks and insurance companies could soon be locked out of lucrative infrastructure bonds in a proposed radical shift in the rules for participation in Kenya's debt market. This could mean that institutional investors could effectively be barred from participating in an investment instrument that typically attracts a massive appetite due to its tax-free status and relatively higher interest rates. I do not know why this would be the case. Why you tell pension funds not to participate in infrastructure bonds?
Is there anybody that would be at a disadvantage if they did?
I wonder.
No, really?
The thing is, you are encouraging people to save for pension.
Yeah.
And then that pension then helps the government to do infrastructure. It's long term. Both of these things are long term.
But they're both winners.
Yeah, I don't know why. The Business Daily has a front photo here. It's an aerial shot. Facilities partially submerged at the JW Marriott Masai Mara Lodge yesterday. More than 14 tourist camps at the world-famous Masai Mara Game Reserve have been affected by floods. This is after River Talek flooded. And my friend, this photo just shows the devastation here. This JW Marriott Masai Mara is a serious lodge. I've been there. I remember I told you last year but one. It's not even a 5-star. It's about a 6-star or there and above. And everything, just looking at this photo, all the tents submerged. It's gone all the way to the staff quarters. Because what you see behind there is the staff quarters. Yani, guy. Heavy rains expose Kenya's sanitation and hygiene crisis. The flooding caused by ongoing heavy rains is raising concerns about waterborne diseases in counties like Turkana, Tana River and Samburu, where more than half of the population use open defecation. Higher. The other ticker headlines. You can wait. City. Tell us what's in the Star.
Top right-hand corner. Until green. D-Day. Impeachment. D-Day for Linturi as MPs vote to form probe team. Okay? Parliamentary probe team to probe fertilizer. Fake or not, bogus or not, fertilizer or not. Okay? Building collapses and kills widow in Kirinyaga County. Okay? 40-year-old woman died after a house that was under construction collapsed at Karia in Kirogoya town, Kirinyaga, yesterday. Lydia Wawira was asleep in a house with her two children, aged 16 and 10, when the 3-story building collapsed at midnight. President enacts 273 billion in fresh budget cuts. President William Ruto has made good his threat to slash ministry's budget by hundreds of billions in the coming financial year in a move meant to align expenditures with available resources. Okay, these are Estimates tabled in Parliament by the National Treasury show that Kenya Kwanza government has slashed the budget for the financial year starting July the 1st. Bang in the middle of the paper, minimum wage workers had demanded a 22% pay rise during Labor Day. That's what they had demanded. Okay. Ruto grants 6% raise. So the demand was given a discount. They're now at 6%. Right? Rejects Kotu demands. Okay, that's what we've been told by the headlines. Increment means lowest paid worker receives 912 shillings more. Okay? Devastation. There's a picture. And danger as floods wreak havoc. Huge bus. City Hopper bus, Matatu. Man. This one. When they say a picture is worth more than 1,000 words, this one is 2,000. You can clearly see we have a problem, a big problem with water.
This one is huge.
Massive.
Look at the photos on page 2 and 3 of the Standards.
Yeah.
And then there are more photos in the Nation. Just take us through the photos.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at, on one side, Maimahiu flood death toll hits 50. KDF is on site. But look at the pictures that we're looking at. And the thing about this is that it's across the country. It's not just in one place.
Yeah.
The first one here, we were looking at dammed waters from a ravine broke free. They snapped trees in their way like twigs. Really didn't matter how big or how long they were. Mary Mudhoni, she lost 8 family members. She's consoled by a relative at the Naivasha Sub-County Hospital. There's a search and rescue team. It carries the body of a man found covered in debris at the Kamoshida village in Maimahiu on the 30th of April. Search and rescue evacuation efforts continue at Maimahiu. And look at the debris, and a gentleman is peering through just to see if he can find anybody in there.
Because this is a tall tree that was felled,
for meters.
rolled over, so somebody could actually have been caught up in that, rolled over and trapped, a body is trapped in there. Yeah. Goodness, it's sad.
Kenya Defence Forces in this picture, I mean, you can't really see it. I don't know if you can, but Kenya Defence Forces are in this gully, what looks like a gully, a very deep one. And they're surrounded by locals who are hoping that they find anybody, in here. The debris is deep, it is thick.
Wow.
And there's this picture that you showed us earlier. River Telek burst its banks and swept away several tented camps and lodges in Narok yesterday. Quite one. Popular holiday spots in Kisumu submerged by overflow of Lake Victoria. It actually looks like this is a swimming pool in the holiday place, but it is not.
It's the lake that's come out. It is the lake
that has come out,
Aye.
Peter Waweru, he lost his wife and 2 children. He recuperates at the Naivasha Sub-County Hospital. Several families marooned inside their houses in Kitengela yesterday. This is a flooded road in Kitengela. It is not a river. This is a road in Kitengela. The Nairobi-Namanga highway was closed for more than 5 hours after a seasonal river burst its banks in the Kimalat area yesterday. Grieving members are counselled at Ngeya Secondary School. This is what's happening here. They did not come to this school for the counselling. This is where they are being...
This is where they're being sheltered now.
Right now.
Oh, okay? God.
KDF and NYS officers searched for bodies yesterday. This is a body of water. Remember when we talked about the Navy being deployed by Eric Omondi yesterday, and he thought we kind of laugh about it, but this is why you'd need it. There's a body of water here. You do not know if there's anybody in here, so search and rescue efforts would require that. If we focus on the issue of schools, very many schools at the moment are being used as shelters for people who have lost their homes.
Yeah.
I think we can say it again and again. If the situation is not going to abate in the next 3 days, because that is what we're looking at, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think it behoves the Ministry of Education to say right now, you know what, let's give it a week.
Mapema.
Now, let's give it a week, let's give it 2 weeks. We will not die. We stayed at home for 9 months during COVID. Let's give it a couple of weeks and say, you know what, let this thing die down. Because Met has said it will die down. But not now.
Great.
Make the decision today. The stories continue. Death and destruction in 3 Ukambani counties. Tourists stranded after river sweeps 12 camps. Farmers count losses as flood destroys crops. I mean, wherever you look, it's bad. And, unfortunately, after the floods, there will be a lot that we have to deal with. How will we plant? How will we harvest? How will all of these things happen?
6 people rescued from waterlogged houses in Kitengela. Police in Kitengela, Kajiado, yesterday recovered the bodies of 2 people who were swept away by floods. They were recovered at Nonkipor area near Saidia Children's Home. One of them was identified as a bread vendor who was swept away by the raging floods while cycling home. Cycling home. The other body was of a middle-aged woman who was not identified. The bodies were moved to the Kitengela mortuary. Red Cross personnel also rescued 6 people who were trapped inside their houses on Deliverance Road, Balozi Road, and Baraka Road. These are the people who Eric Omondi was telling us. The floods were caused by heavy downpour that occurred on Tuesday night. The lady that Eric Omondi was telling us, Wangare Gekonyo, a widow who lives at Blessed Court along Balozi Road, had tweeted at 2:48 a.m. asking for help. Oh my God, we are dying. Anyone in Kitengela, please help. We are dying. Floods. 2:48 a.m. As early as 4 a.m., the Red Cross team was in Kitengela where they combed several estates to conduct evacuations. They used inflatable boats to rescue those affected. Josephine Akinyi, a mother of 2, was also rescued after being trapped inside her house for several hours. I thank God you're alive. We were woken by a big bang in our house. We later realized that our perimeter wall had been destroyed by the raging waters. All our household goods have been swept away by the waters. In Kimalat, along the Nairobi-Namanga Road, 2 vehicles, a lorry and a saloon car, were swept away by the raging waters after drivers attempted to drive through. And there's a photo here. The lorry and the saloon car. They were attempting to drive through the water. They did not realize just how fast and strong those waters were. So what happened? This is what happened. They are lucky they are alive. They are lucky they are alive. At the same time as you're looking at all those stories, there's also another one which is looking at the other impact of what's happening in the country. Farmers across the country are counting losses after their crops were swept away by floods. The worst affected regions are Kericho, Uasin Gishu, and Busia, where fields of tomatoes, maize, and beans have been destroyed. Farmers in Kericho, which is a main food basket, are now looking for seeds in preparation for the next planting season. Jafat Kirui said his farm was destroyed by a mudslide. The incident happened at night, and it's only this morning that we realized the whole shamba under tomatoes was destroyed. You can imagine the investment in terms of inputs, he says. The kind of suffering we are going through is terrible. Another farmer, Samuel Rono, lost his entire maize crop. I had planted almost 2 acres of maize, which was doing well before the mudslide. It's unfortunate that this disaster struck. At least 50 subsistence farmers were affected in Kericho alone. In Uasin Gishu, an area called Cheptiret, and Budalangi in Busia, again, same thing. Uasin Gishu Governor Jonathan B. and a team of Red Cross toured the area on Tuesday morning to assess the situation and provide humanitarian support. So what's happening here is crop in the farms getting destroyed. So when the waters recede, when the waters subside and we are now left, okay, it's dry, there'll be no crop in the farm. And then after this flooding comes dry spell. We are at a very, very bad place. We are at a very, very, very bad place. The cabinet met for a special cabinet sitting to discuss the flooding situation.
Okay.
The end.
Okay. So I thought that...
The end.
Well, we do see the military has been deployed. Kenya National Youth Service have been deployed. No, let me be specific, the army. Okay? With the engineering corps. I don't know the engineering corps, but the details haven't been given, but we see army personnel.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, did we pass that law? Is it cabinet that can actually enact the process by which the military can actually be deployed locally? Or during disasters, that does not count?
Yeah, in a disaster, they are not in a security operation.
Yes.
This is disaster response.
And there's no security attached to this?
No, they are not responding to a security crisis.
They are not responding to a security crisis?
They are not armed.
Oh, so Unless they are armed, unless there's some armed conflict, it isn't security. Hey, okay. When there is a likelihood that people will die, and the threats are from people who are armed, it's security. When there's a threat that people will die, and it's nature that is taking its toll, and it's gone beyond the natural forces that we have.
Now that's yes.
Yes, that's a health hazard. So Ministry of Health were deal now.
Yes.
Okay.
Remember, like even during COVID, we had the use of KDF officers in all these matters. It's a health emergency, all hands on deck. It's not a war situation.
Actually, that's my point. It is. It is akin to a war. When the sort of levels of threat that we are seeing to human life.
As in the threat is not another human being.
Actually, it is.
Okay, now you're being too...
No. I'm actually not being facetious. I'm actually looking at this thing from the point of view of the limitations that we have when it comes to understanding how all hands on deck means and how it should apply. Okay? I remember yesterday I gave the example of the Mtongwe ferry disaster that occurred in Mombasa.
Yeah.
And the Navy was involved.
Yeah.
We're not at war, but the Navy had to be involved. Yes.
That's it. So those are the ones that it's not the National Security Council that is asking for the deployment of the military.
Yes.
It is the military just being used in humanitarian activities within the country.
That doesn't need cabinet approval.
Yeah.
Well, if that doesn't need cabinet approval, why did they delay then? Or did they need to sit among themselves, discuss, agree, and then move?
Yeah. Very many questions, of course, on how this is getting a response from government level, right?
Yes.
We have not had a conversation that has happened between the president and the 47 governors.
No.
Okay? Governors are out there. They're the ones who are coordinating emergencies in their counties. The national government is bringing in support. Has there been a conversation at the summit level between the president and the 47 governors? We don't know. We haven't heard about it.
No, we haven't.
Is there coordination? Because, for example, these raging waters coming from Kajiado, that water is flowing downstream. It'll head into Machakos, into Makueni. It's going... If water is causing the kind of damage we are seeing in a part of Isinya and Kitengela,
it's going to spread.
It's going down into Machakos County in Athi River. It's going down into... It'll end up in Makueni. It'll end up at the coast into the ocean.
Yes.
It's causing destruction.
As it moves along.
As it moves. So, what's the coordination? What's the alert system that, okay, this is happening in Kajiado, Makueni, be ready, be prepared, this could happen?
There's none.
Council of Governors have the... Anyway, Abdul Samad will be here. We will ask.
He will tell us. He will tell us what kind of coordination they're having as the 47 governors, first of all, and then with the 47 governors and the national government. Who is running this show? Rigathi Gachagua is fighting with Ndinyoro on who arrives in Maimahiu first for the other.
Yes. Who should speak before the other?
Who should speak before the other?
Can you imagine?
Yes, I can.
What kind of demon is disturbing us, honestly? Can you imagine? What were they? You say, ah, no, may God forgive us. What is... No.
I think just for Rini, let's just tell us that story, Ndu. I know it'll annoy you so much, but then, just so that we know what we're dealing with. Page 9 of the Standard.
Okay, so I'll just tell you. Here it is. Page 9 is after 8, Abi. Okay, so sorry. Here we go. So, Supremacy battle. MPs hijacked Gachagua event to praise New York. Supremacy battle unfolded in Mavioya as 6 relatives from 2 neighboring families mourned their kin buried alive by a landslide. Rivalry between Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Kiharu MP in Dindinyoro played out as area leaders showed where their hearts were. A visit to Kiganjo village on Tuesday saw Gashagua's officers deployed to prepare the venue ahead of the trip. In the meantime, the DP headed to Ihithe in Nyeri for the burial of retired African independent clergy Amos Kabutho. However, moments before noon, MPs Nyoro, Kiharu, Edwin Muga, Mavioya, and Bethel Minor, Women Rep, and Muranga Senator Joe Nyutu landed using a chopper causing confusion among locals who mistook them for the deputy president's entourage. DP Amefika, not really. The leaders announced that they had visited to condole with the mourners and to offer their financial and material support. Nyoro gave 1 million, another donation of a similar amount when he said was from President William Ruto. You understand now what's happening?
He the one who's bringing Ruto's.
Me have brought Ruto's
my 1 million and Ruto's 1 million.
So they thought with 2 million. They thought it was the deputy president who was coming because people had come to arrange the ground before.
Protocol.
Shockaroo on you. Other legislators donated 200k to boost the contribution, and they hailed the MP for mobilizing the support to assist the residents. Can you see? The leader showered praises on Nyoro, whom they described as the link between him, them, and the president. Are you seeing? They asked residents to pray for him against his political enemies. Yeah. Senator Newto claimed that they had gone there with Nyoro in his capacity as a National Assembly Budget and Appropriations Committee chairperson. Yeah, right. So that he could elaborate the government's program towards assisting the 52 families who had been accommodated at the Ngutu Secondary School. This is yet another secondary school that's being used. According to Newto, Nyoro speaks and meets with the president at all times. And we shall send him to deliver our wishes to the president. When you pray, tell God something about Nyoro, because he's our hope and leader. I won't say much. Let those who understand know what I'm speaking about.
Well.
Do you understand? Then Maina now told Nyoro, you came here because you love us and you are merciful. And we shall never forget that you gave us a shoulder. Here's my shoulder to lean on when we are mourning. As women, we shall ask our God. This is the women rep, not anybody.
When you're not strong, I'll be your friend.
Thank you very much. As women, we shall ask our God to continue blessing you and uplifting you from one grace to another and protect you against your enemies. Decide who the enemies are. And we recognize you as the senior most leader in the region. Now, please.
If you don't recognize him, that
is your problem.
And then we as women.
We've even asked God, our God, to bless him.
Wait, I'm waiting for it. First of all, you're not from that region, so you keep quiet.
We as women.
We women.
This is the woman rep. As women of Muranga, we know our senior most leader.
Now, 30 minutes before the deputy president arrived, the MPs boarded their chopper and left. Gudu away.
And
By
then,
the time Gachagua came, people have already shivered.
And they've gone.
No.
Oh, they're still waiting.
Only Governor Irungu Kangata and the local MCA Edwin Wairagu were there to welcome him.
My God.
Indeed. That same God. Gachagua was accompanied by other leaders.
But they're from Nyeri.
In his speech.
This is Muranga.
Yes.
Gachagua has come with Nyeri leaders.
Yes, please.
Two local Muranga leaders. Gudu.
In his speech, he now said that Muga, you failed to stay with the grieving people like grassroots leaders ought to. In his speech, he forgot that he came now to condole with people. He was now angry that people did not stay.
Read that one.
He quoted a Kikuyu proverb. A leader does not just come to say hi to his people and then leave. He spends time with his grieving people. I don't know how to say that one in Kikuyu, but
let
just
me read
forgive
it.
me. Please read it. That's what I wanted to say, but you took me over. A marauding mongoose leaves its house when there is a banquet.
Yes.
So you decide who the marauding mongoose is.
He marauded.
He then now gave 1 million shillings and food. But remember, Nyoro
had already given 1 + 1.
From who?
2 million.
Where?
And each of those MPs 200. But this
and then
is,
they prayed
like you
for
said,
him, remember?
This is the demon at work. Shetani at work. What was the occasion?
Rubbish.
The occasion here is because people have been buried alive in a landslide.
Nonsense.
Others have been displaced. Okay? People are sad. People are grieving. People have lost all their belongings.
They have no.
And you
that night.
bloody people, you're coming here with your say again?
Gudu.
to play games.
Nonsense.
What absolute madness is this?
It is.
How can we call this leadership?
You see those pigs on the side of the mountain in the Gospels, where Jesus sent the pigs inside. That's what's disturbing these people. I'm telling you, there's no other explanation. That there's loss of life to the extent that we are seeing. There's destruction. There's huge. There's then this is what you're coming to do.
As in, that's what you can just come and do. You have seen this as an opportunity to play politics.
Yes.
So you've come here, 2 million shillings from me and the president, 200. Let's assume that those ones have done 3 million shillings. Gachagua comes with his 1 million shillings. His Nyeri MPs, maybe 50K, I don't know. But Nyeri people are rich. 250K. Let's say now the whole thing you guys have left here is 4 million bob and you've gone.
Then
and
you went.
And you've come here and you played politics and said, this and the other, and absolute madness. This is such nonsense. I feel sorry for the governor of Muranga because he's looking at, these are my people. You come
in the middle because him is not going anywhere. Those are his people. He can't board. Him is right there.
Where is he going?
He. As we pray to our God, we should pray that such leaders are just taught a lesson by that same God. 7 a.m. Unfortunately. It's time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Government workers in the country will soon receive a minimum wage increase of 6% following the order of President William Ruto during the Labour Day celebrations. In his speech, President Ruto instructed Labour Cabinet Secretary Florence Bore to convene a meeting with the appropriate committee to discuss and implement the minimum wage.
Tukubaliane, mshahara tutaongeza kwa njia gani? Mapato tutaongeza kwa njia gani? Tutazalisha chakula kwa njia gani? Na ndio mimi nataka sasa nimwambie waziri wetu wa leba aite kamati ile inahusika na waketi chini, minimum wage tuongeze at least minimum by 6%, na mtaniambia vile hesabu hiyo itafanyika. Alafu pale mbele tutaongea na nyinyi vile mambo itakavyo kwenda mbele. As we commemorate Labor Day, let us rededicate ourselves to doing our best and contributing our utmost to enhance the welfare of every Kenyan.
The increase announced by the President is very low compared to the 22.5% proposal that has been pushed by KOTU. KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has been pushing for the increase to help workers who've been greatly affected by the high cost of living and increased taxes.
Anything that comes from the mouth of the President, let me tell you people, anything that the President akikusalamia jambo, that is law. That is law. Usifikirie utaenda kutafuta law ingine pale ingine. So wacha tupeleke President pole pole na tumwangalie tumchunge na yeye atatuchunga. Na tunaomba yeye atupatie 22.5% or whatever he has put in his pockets. Ama tena nimesema vibaya. Nikiomba hiyo nimesema vibaya. And let me remind our economists, even when our shilling was being devalued, we said on 14th of January that this devaluation of our shilling, which was on speedy rush, did not reflect the true economic activities on the ground.
However, the Union of Employers in the country, FKE, has been opposing the proposal of Atwoli and instead recommending the existence of a legal procedure on how to increase employees' salaries.
These last few days, I've heard the Secretary General of KOTU pushing for a general wage increase or saying he'll push for a general wage increase. And I understand where he's coming from because the workers are struggling with a reduction in their take-home pay. But the reality is that there is no legal framework that supports general wage increases in Kenya. This, in fact, would negate freedom of enterprise, the determination of wage review beyond the minimum wages that we often discuss, which are set by the state is done through negotiation of collective bargaining agreements or at employment contract level.
It should be noted that in 2022, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta announced a 22% increase in the minimum wage. And Kenya's inflation dropped to a record 24-month low in April to hit 5%. The latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows as prices of key food commodities continued to fall. This is the third month in a row that the index has dropped from 6.9% in January to 6.3% in February and 5.7% in March, and now the 5% last month. Major contributors of April's year-on-year price rises included the transport sector, food and non-alcoholic beverages and housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels. Motorists have been warned against fueling their cars in flooded petrol stations. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority states that the presence of water in the underground storage tanks affects the quality of petroleum products, which may lead to breakdown of motor vehicles. EPRA has further directed owners of flooded petrol stations to immediately halt their operations to ensure public safety and maintain the quality of petroleum products. And finally, on a sad note, a bar attendant is currently under emergency care to dislodge a knife stuck into her eye after a reveller stabbed her. A watchman at the club where the incident happened at Kiamokama said the reveller stabbed the bartender minutes before midnight following an altercation. One of the medical staff who received the injured woman at Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital said the kitchen knife was firmly sticking into the eye socket and the woman was bleeding from the fresh stab wound. That's the news wire. I'm Ndu Okoh.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, at a few minutes after 7 o'clock, what are we looking at on the streets this morning? So that area on the Thika Superhighway coming in then between the KU University and the Car Barracks, that has been opened. So that's open for use. We're still going to ask that folks be very careful because the rain keeps coming down. All right. Looking at Jogoo Road, some traffic as you approach Landis, but then Landis going towards Kamkunji, that is not a problem. Traffic then coming in from the Allsop stage through towards the city on the Thika Superhighway. All to watch this morning. Folks were using the northern bypass before that announcement of opening. You're fine. Not much in terms of traffic there. On Kiambu Road, it's going to build as you get towards Muthaiga Square. And on Ngong Road this morning, that is moving. We've got some traffic on Langata Road as you approach the city and the interchange there coming in from the southern bypass. So let's keep an eye on this. We're getting into traffic hour in about half hour or so. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7, I'm wishing you a good morning, and the best way to start the day is just say hello, wherever you are, hoping that you are well and you are safe. And for those that you know are not safe, let us support them in whatever way we can. The country is underwater, literally, and it's a big thing. What's happening around the country? These are conversations that we have to continue having. The weatherman has cautioned that rains are still going to come heavy, especially going into the weekend. Heavy rains, right?
Yep, indeed. So what the number was, we're looking at 244 millimeters of rain this week between the 30th of April and the 6th of May. And Thursday and Friday were earmarked as particularly heavy days when it comes to rain, and it looks like that's what's going to be happening through today and tomorrow into the weekend. So it's...
Be careful out there, be careful. You see water, just don't even attempt. Don't attempt to cross, don't attempt to cycle through, to ride through, to drive through.
Don't.
Just don't.
Just don't. Hi, Ndu. Before we start our next conversation, we want to talk about child trafficking. We had a series of stories that were published in the Standard a couple of weeks ago, and we said, okay, this one we've got to look at it deeply. Tell us about Showmax.
Are you looking to upgrade for the ultimate entertainment experience? Well, look no further than Showmax. Shika Showmax right about now with the upgraded streaming platform for Africa. Watch your favorite series and movies and more on your multiple devices or in HD. So stream on 2 screens or download content to save data so that you can watch later. Our Showmax Premier League plan offers live matches, highlights and fan content on your mobile. How can you do this? Well, you pay at the very least 300 shillings per month, all the way to 1,000 bob, and you can get much access to all of these on all your devices. www.showmax.com or download the Showmax app on Play Store or App Store and start your entertainment experience now. Shika Showmax.
Shika Showmax. Sawa. Our next guest for the next hour is Monica K. She's a consortium coordinator at Busara. Monica, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you for having me.
Good of you to arrive here safely and sound, and we wish you all the best even as you leave here after this show. I mean, it's that kind of season that we are in.
Yeah.
You're going to tell us a lot more about Busara and what you do in terms of children and children's welfare. But to welcome you to the conversation, let's first get you the day's proverb from CT. This week, the proverbs are from
the Republic of Algeria.
Right.
A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody. Do you keep secrets?
Everyone has a secret.
Do you keep secrets?
I do keep secrets.
Do you keep secrets?
For how long?
Everybody has a secret.
Do you keep your own?
That's a good question.
How long do you keep a secret?
It depends. Some for a lifetime. Until that day you game changa. Yeah.
And others until you meet the next person. Like, what?
Yes.
Watu wako na shida huko nje.
Na wengine hata huwezi kujua wako na shida. Unajua kuna mfano zingine hata nikupatia hutabelieve.
Like there's a friend of mine, I won't tell you who. Yes. Then you go ahead and describe that friend.
In such details. That it can't be anybody else.
And you're using this just as a life example of things to know, things to avoid.
While keeping your friend secret.
Keeping your friend secret. What's your interpretation of that proverb, though?
Repeat the proverb, please.
Yes, happily. A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
Well, just don't tell your secrets. Keep them to yourself.
It's bound to get out.
Yeah.
It's bound to get out. Why do people tell their secrets anyway?
Why don't we go a little further? Why do people have secrets?
That thing you don't want anybody to know, but you kind of do want somebody to know, don't
Why?
Why do you want? Why do you have things that you don't
want people to know? What is it? Are you embarrassed about it?
Perhaps.
That's why.
Is there a shame element?
Yes.
Is it too good to be true?
True.
Yes.
Or is it you know it's
or do you think the village uncles will come and usurp your success so you don't want to tell anybody?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or people won't believe you actually did that thing.
Yes.
Usually those kind of things people want to tell.
Yes, while pretending they want to keep it secret.
Yes.
I shouldn't say this. And then they proceed to say everything. But also, the shame element is usually quite profound. If societally it's accepted that certain things are not right, and you've been involved with one of those things that are deemed to be not right, then you really wouldn't want to talk about it. But then there are individuals who really don't talk about, forget secrets, they really don't talk about themselves, period.
At all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not a secret, they just will not talk about themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Life is not about me.
Sure.
Really? Okay.
It's not about me. I mean,
I'm living in a space with others.
Yeah, let other people speak about me.
I'm fine.
Yes. And when you have an opportunity, you need to feel the other people.
Exactly. Anyway, Monica, Consortium Coordinator at Busara. What's Busara?
Well, Busara is a research and consulting organization, and basically we use behavioral science. We apply behavioral science in our research to understand how humans think with the aim to alleviate poverty in the global south.
Why?
It's a big problem, particularly if we are talking about human trafficking, the conversation we are about to have. We find poverty is one of the drivers of child trafficking, human trafficking. So how best to address it without first understanding how people think, their perceptions, their attitudes, and the extent to which human trafficking, for example, they find it permissible.
So what do you do with your research?
It depends on the context, but particularly within the NEAR program, we intend to use our research to develop social and behavior change communication materials that will ultimately change people's perceptions and acceptability of child domestic work.
We talk about, you've mentioned a couple of things, child trafficking, now there's child domestic work. In my mind, those are two different things. Are they?
Not really.
Okay.
Child domestic work basically starts from child trafficking. And maybe we can first start by understanding what child trafficking is.
Okay.
A lot of the times when we talk about human trafficking, people think about the
from
larger...
one country to another.
Yes, from one country to another, what we see in movies.
Yeah.
But then within the scope of children, it's basically recruiting children to work, particularly to work. Now, it's the scope of that work that varies. Some are restricted within the household. Some can be pushed into sexual exploitation, maybe having to work in brothels and things like that. Yeah.
Is it common in Kenya?
Very common.
Oh, really?
It happens. Yeah,
What? Trafficking of children?
Trafficking of children.
Please tell us.
And let's maybe first start by understanding the statistics, because the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicated that at least globally, 17 million children are involved in child domestic work. But then in Kenya, about 1.3 million children are involved in some form of child labor, right? There's another study that was done by the Freedom Fund in collaboration with the African Institute for Children's Studies. And now, contextually, in counties such as Busia and Kakamega, we find that there's a high infiltration of child domestic work, where about 19 to 21% of children are involved in child domestic work.
What do we classify as child domestic work?
Basically, it's children being recruited to work in the household. And of course, the work that they're exposed to is beyond what they can bear. So there's a limit to what children can do, right? Even within, children are supposed to work, to contribute to the household, but there's a limit to that. Burdening them with a lot of work, then that's child labor, and that's illegal. That's something that should not be happening.
What's the age bracket we're talking about here? Because we talk about children and we're looking at anywhere between the age of 0 to 18. According to the laws of Kenya, some countries are on the continent may see a lower, maybe 17. But most times we're looking at that age bracket. So in this case, when we're talking about child domestic work, which then is an offshoot of child trafficking in some cases, what age bracket then are we paying attention to?
Mostly from a research that was done by the Freedom Fund and AICS, between 15 to 17 years, but then of course there are other cases where the child is relatively younger than that, maybe even 12 or 13. Yeah.
Okay. And so then, because now when you call it child labor, and you said that when they're doing work that is uncomfortable, what kind of work are we talking about that is then uncomfortable or now invites suffering on a 15 to 17-year-old?
It's the extent of that work.
Okay.
For example, a child, a 12-year-old can easily wash their socks from when they're from school, right? But burdening this child of a similar age with a bucket load of laundry, for example, for an entire household, maybe you're like 6 people in the household. That's something that a child cannot easily do without it affecting their physical well-being, emotional well-being, Yeah, so then that's the extent to which it now becomes child labor.
Okay. How are we able to trace that children then, this 1.3 million that we talk about, have been, how are we able to trace who has been trafficked? To say that, and okay, maybe the definition of child trafficking now maybe would make sense at this juncture, because we say that those who end up in child domestic work could have been victims of child trafficking. How do we make the connection between the two?
With your earlier question was with regards to how do we report or how do we get a sense of who?
How do we know that the children who are working have been trafficked?
One, through research, like the research we conduct. So quite recently we conducted research, Busara with Freedom Fund under the NEAR program. We conducted research to understand the landscape. And through that you can then identify patterns. So that's one, through the research. The other component is reporting, either using the agencies, civil society organizations that are working within this scope, because they do have response strategies and interventions where you go report and then they're actually able to come up and follow up with a particular case, provide maybe shelter if necessary, return the child to the family. Yeah, so it does vary. The only challenge that exists with regards to following up is, in most cases, a lot of these child domestic workers enter into informal agreements with their employers. So there's no legislative framework. It's not very easy to know if this is a child domestic worker, right? In most cases also, the context of where the work happens, it's within the household. Households are private. If I have someone in my household, she's maybe 13, for example, she's working as a domestic worker, how does my neighbor tell that this is not a relative and it's actually a domestic worker? So it's more, the biggest barrier is the informal agreements that actually exist.
When you say you conducted research, what questions do you seek to respond to? Because that's what research is all about.
Yeah.
What are these questions that you're seeking to answer?
One is understanding who the key stakeholders are. Because when we look at child domestic work, for example, ultimately one of the key stakeholders is the child who's the worker. But then understanding the landscape, who is involved in this trade, because when it comes to the response strategies, then you're best able to target particular people based on the patterns that we identify in the research. So with the research we recently conducted with the Freedom Fund, it was understanding who the key stakeholders are. How do they perceive social work, right? So when I talk about the key stakeholders, that's the agents, because we found actually we have people who specialize in recruiting children to work in households as domestic workers. Also the role of parents and caregivers. As a parent, for example, to what extent or when then does it become permissible for a child to leave my household to go and work in another household as a worker? The other thing is also understanding the employers. What are their perceptions? Then when does it become socially acceptable for me, maybe as a working woman, I understand the dynamics of work, what is acceptable legally, then to what extent does it now become agreeable for me to actually hire a child to work in my household?
Okay. So what did you find out? Is there general awareness of the law and the implications of all these things and connecting it to not a worker, but a child laborer?
Yes.
There's awareness.
There's a bit of awareness.
Okay.
One of the things that we found, particularly with the key stakeholders, and that's the employers themselves, is in as much as they are aware that child domestic work is illegal, they perceive that they're doing some good. One of the things, maybe if we can go back a bit, is the drivers of child domestic work is economic vulnerability, for example. So you find a child at home, they do not have food, they don't have shelter, their future is uncertain. But then, because of that, an employer then perceives themselves to be doing good. So their goodness ultimately overshadows the illegality of employing a child as a worker in their house. Okay. So that was one of the interesting findings that came up from our research.
The employer is not necessarily aware that there is some illegality they're committing?
There is some awareness, but then the fact that they think I'm actually doing good, I'm helping, I'm positively contributing to the life of this child, then it's not really bad, right? Instead of this child living out in the streets, I'm giving them 3 square meals a day.
Which is why I'm asking that awareness. So you're aware of, labor and child labor and trafficking.
Yes.
But do you contextualize it to yourself at that point? Is that what this employer is doing? Because this employer, like you've said, is looking at, okay, so there's a child in Shags who this family is doing poorly. I go and take that child, I bring the child to the city. The child will be living in my home. The child will be working. The child will be eating and sleeping well. And maybe at some point I'll take this child to school. Maybe one thing or the other, right? Mm-hmm. Is this person thinking, I am involved in child trafficking? I am involved in the illegal child labor? Is that awareness clear in that person's mind?
It's not very clear.
Okay.
It's not very clear. And that's because a lot of the times the idea of child domestic work, it's not very prominent. It's that thing that it's there, but it's largely invisible. People don't talk about it. So no one...
But why don't people talk about it?
Because it just preys on the vulnerability of children.
Yes. There is a topic that is very prevalent in Kenya and has had many things done, research conducted. It's called female genital mutilation. Okay? Mm-hmm. The efforts that have been made to eradicate it are laudable, but it still exists. Now, there seems to be a disconnect here between what certain communities and societies consider to be part and parcel of their identity, or something they consider to be normal, and there's what the law says. So when these two collide, then the silence you speak of in my mind comes into being. People don't talk about it because they understand law, police, jail. They know that matrix. They know how it goes. But has time been taken to understand why it is that, forget the poverty element, what it is that makes what you are referring to as child trafficking acceptable? Because if it was not acceptable, it wouldn't be done. Mm-hmm. The acceptability factor is stronger than even the law sometimes. So it were better people talked about it, would be out in the open. When it is silent is when the atrocities that we associate child labor with come into being.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why programs such as the NIA program, it's very important, because then even the name NIA, we're trying to make child domestic work to not be invisible anymore. We want to bring it to the front line so that people can understand by engaging in child domestic work, you're contributing negatively to the lives of children. They're not going to achieve positive life outcomes. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. Let's make amends. Let's have different stakeholders come together so that we can address this challenge.
So what is child trafficking? Trafficking specifically, what does that mean?
Trafficking specifically, using lay terms, define it as the illegal trade of humans, specifically to provide labor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do we assume that these children who are being moved from one place to the other eventually end up working somewhere? But do we assume that they come from homes where there's, at the very least, some kind of unit, family unit, father, mother, mother, father, whatever it is? Do we assume that they're leaving those homes and going to the destination whereby they will be working with the consent of release from the parental figure?
That's a really good question, and it takes back to another finding we found, we established in our recent research. Yes, to a great extent, a lot of them are coming from homes, from households, and entering into labor. But the other side is, to some extent, sometimes it's not even a matter of parental consent or guardian consent. We found that some children are actually proactive in seeking child domestic work, particularly when they understand the financial struggles that they're having in the household.
So can I be trafficked if it is my idea?
Yes, it can.
Oh. I can still be, if I say, oh, well, I can see that, you know, the situation at home is bad. I want to be able to go and earn something. And I say, okay, I'm going to go there. Would that still be that child is being trafficked?
Yes.
But it's not forced.
But then it's a child, right? So they're not...
They don't have agency.
Exactly, they don't have any agency. And that's why now the different facilitators, like the agents and even the employers, are preying on their vulnerability. Because that child does not have agency. What they say, in as much as it's not legally permissible, at the end of the day, someone is benefiting from that vulnerability.
Even the child is benefiting from this transaction, isn't it?
To some extent, from what we found, yes, because with proactive...
So then would you say that the person is preying on vulnerability, or is the person helping?
Preying on their own vulnerability as well.
Is that not what... that's what makes this discussion difficult?
Yes.
Because, you see, I am looking at the societal norms around child labor, beginning with a child at a certain age being given functions within their own homestead and by their own parents. And then I'm looking at the role of poverty in circumstances where a family falls on hard times. Now, some of the things that the children are being asked to do are not things they have not done before. For instance, like children helping raise other children who are younger than them within a family. It's one of the most normal things. Okay?
You even bring relatives from the village to come and...
Yes. You see, the understanding about relatives coming to live and work with you is not just so that they may be domestic workers, but so that they may also further their education. Because in many cases, they are going to school. It's not that they're not going to school. And usually they're not toddlers. They are people who are probably in their adolescence. Now, it is an accepted form of assistance, so that money that could have been paid to somebody else, part of it is actually given to the parents. So they have money which ordinarily they wouldn't have. It's a complex thing, and it requires an extremely honest conversation.
It does, and that's why I was asking.
Yes.
That's why I started by saying, Monica, that in my mind there are two different issues. There's trafficking, as we all know it, where you are directly preying on somebody's vulnerability. You've picked children who are homeless in the streets and you've promised them something, and then you've taken them, and you know what they thought you're taking them to do or to benefit from is not what they end up with. All right? And then they're going to forced labor of whatever kind. And then there's this other one where it's our cultures, our norms, our society, where we are saying that children are involved in domestic work, whether they are working for a relative, an auntie, an uncle, or they're working in their own homesteads. They're involved in domestic work. Those, in my mind, are different, but we'll come back and you'll tell us how then they come in and meet. But before we take a break, somebody's actually saying, you've mentioned NIA a number of times. Before we take a break, what's NIA?
NIA, it's a program that seeks to end modern-day slavery. And in Kenya, we are implementing it with the Freedom Fund. We want to change the social acceptability and preference for child domestic work.
Is it an acronym?
Yes, NIA is an acronym for Not Invisible Anymore.
Okay.
Oh, it's NIA.
NIA. Yes.
Oh.
Brother, wewe ulikuwa unafikiria nini?
Karibu.
Okay, thank you.
Just near here. 28 minutes to 8. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are hosting Monica K. She's the consortium coordinator at Busara. Busara is a research organization, right? And we are talking about the realities of modern day child trafficking and child labor. Ndu. Showmax is saying, Shika Showmax.
Shika Showmax, it's the upgraded version of your African streaming of all your favorite movies, your series, your Premier League action live matches, as well as your catch-ups and fan content. So you can actually download now and watch it later. So imagine where you can watch on many different devices. You can carry all these sports, your TV series or your movies on the go. 300 shillings per month and going up, and you can have all of this ready for you. Shika Showmax, www.showmax.com, or download the Showmax app on Play Store or Apple App Store.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Experience the vibrant pulse of Africa at Festac Africa Festival 2024 in Kisumu. Join us for a week-long celebration of culture, music, fashion, and more from May 20th to 26th. Dive into sustainable growth with food, arts, education, and youth empowerment. Don't miss Africa's premier Pan-African and global cultural exchange program. Get your tickets now. 1 day for 500 Kenya shillings or the full week for 2,000 Kenya shillings. Kisumu County welcomes the world to be part of Africa's forward movement. Act fast and secure your spot in this unforgettable journey. To register, just go to www.festacafrica.org. It's once again time for back to school shopping, and Naivas is here to let you know that you can shikanjia ya big shopping the Naivas Kiloko way. At Naivas, we acknowledge the effort parents and guardians have put into preparing for back to school. That's why we have lined up amazing deals and offers from the 24th to the 30th of April on back to school essentials with Naivas Kikapu Kibonge Super Safari.
We'll see highs of 23 and highs of 24 in a cloudy Nakuru at 17. The rain keeps coming down here as well. 18 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 22 in a mostly cloudy Eldoret at 16. Mombasa is sunny at 26 with highs of 33 and highs of 32 in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 27. It's 22 and cloudy with highs of 27 in Kisumu, and we'll see highs of 26 in a mostly cloudy Kakamega currently at 19. Kampala is cloudy at 21, highs of 27, and Dar es Salaam at 26 is sunny. We'll see highs of 33. Johannesburg is sunny at 15 with highs of 25, while Mogadishu at 27 is sunny with highs of 33. Addis Ababa at 16, sunny conditions with highs of 25 and lows of 14. And Lagos is clear at 27 with highs of 32, while Kinshasa clear at 24, going to highs of 34.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really took me back to my days, and I can just free and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of SpiceFM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Okay, so it's busy in the city. If you're coming in from Langata Road today, you have a bit of a hold up as you then go out towards Aerodrome Road or then round towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. That is busy. Also coming off of Jogo Road, we'll see some of that going towards Landy. Some of that will branch off towards Lusaka Road as folks trying to get into the CBD as quickly as possible. Kiambu Road, traffic here. Also on the Thika Superhighway coming in from Survey, it's thick getting into the underpass, and on Limuru Road, coming all the way from Kitisuru, is going to all end up at Wangari Maathai Way, so that's moving. Hold-ups in some parts here and there, but doable. We're getting into traffic hour now. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
4 minutes to 8, our conversation continues with Monica K, Consortium Coordinator at Busara, the realities of modern day child trafficking. Let's look at now that very deep child trafficking, right? Start from, I don't know, I think you've said one of the central cogs is the agents, okay? So start from the agent, their business, how this business then goes into how do they get the children into their bureaus, and how do they end up forwarding these children from their bureaus to the places they end up working, and what kind of work are we talking about? So start the story of the agent.
Okay, so agencies are typically people who do the recruitment, either a parent. From our research, we found a parent can approach an agent particularly, or even an employer can. We found that employers also reach out to agents specifically asking for a particular type of domestic worker, particularly children. Okay. So once the agent, the role of the agent is to typically negotiate. They negotiate for the salaries. We found that they try to analyze the employer in terms of, is this a good person? Can this person take care of a child? Yeah, then they do facilitate how the child moves from their household to the employer's household.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the cases where the parent has approached the agent, what's the story? What do they tell the agent?
In most cases, it goes back to the economic vulnerability. There's this child, we're looking for work. Let's try to get a good employer for the child.
Right.
That tends to come up. Yeah.
Okay.
So far we found there's a bit of collaboration sometimes between parents and facilitators.
Okay.
And in such cases, the child has no agency. It's a matter of, we found this opportunity for you, go and make it work.
So this is a child who is in secondary school age, or is it also even in primary school age?
It can be primary school age.
So is the child taken out of school to go into employment?
Sometimes yes, but a lot of times you find that they have to drop out of school for one reason or another. Yeah.
Okay, so already beyond vulnerability, there is an extra layer of vulnerability by the time this is being, because are we saying essentially that those who are trafficked for this purpose going eventually into labor, it is then very difficult for a child who's got the basics, who's well-to-do, to be trafficked. So that has to be one of the, prerequisites essentially for this to happen. There must be an element of vulnerability, whether it is financial or whatever else, that there must be that element of vulnerability first in order for that whole process to come about. If there is collusion with the guardian or the parent, then there's a wage that is paid, one would assume. Who earns this? Who does this money go to?
In most cases, that money goes to the parents. Sometimes that collaboration between the caregiver, or the parent, and the employer, there's conversation of, send this money directly to me. In some cases, the children are given some stipend. I'm saying stipend because it's not really a wage that will typically be paid for domestic work. So in a lot of cases, that money goes to the parents. Yeah.
What does the parent do with the money?
It goes back to the household.
Okay.
A lot of the times.
So it's supporting the household.
It's supporting the household.
The other children maybe need to go to school and such other things.
Yes.
Now, the employer who is coming and specifically looking for a child, why are they looking for a child? Why are they looking for the young person to employ?
One, again, the vulnerability, because when it's a child, they lack agency. They're unable to establish the extremes, right? With an adult, if you tell an adult to do something, they can say no, and you can have a conversation about it. But then because it's a child, they're really vulnerable. That also ties in with obedience. From our research, we established that some employers specifically asked for children because children are obedient. Whatever they tell them to do, they're going to do it.
Are there cases about this child is closer to my children's age, so they'll get along, they'll understand one another, they'll be able to bring up to...
Not really.
Nothing like that?
But something close to that can come up with the benevolent employers who feel that they're doing good. So they might assume, for example, that, okay, instead of this child staying in the village alone, for example, if it's a child who's orphaned, let me bring them to stay with them in my household so that they can interact with other children, go to school, and other dynamics.
Okay. It's illegal, is it not?
It is.
Okay. What do the laws, for example, let's say Kenya as a jurisdiction, then say about this particular act?
So typically, you're not supposed to employ a child. But then the problem comes in due to the informal arrangements. Because in most cases, there are no contracts that are signed. With a contract, at least you can protect yourself. If that wage is not paid, if you're paid way less than you actually agreed, then you can follow up with the reporting mechanisms. And once you report, then the necessary follow-ups can be made. So it's the informal arrangements that exist that are the biggest barrier. Then the other component is with regards to reporting. Our laws typically look at domestic work from an adult point of view. It doesn't look at it apart from do not employ children, it leaves it at that. So then when you encounter cases where it's actually children, it then becomes quite difficult to follow up. The other dynamic that is particularly useful to mention is we have witnessed cases, and it's evidenced actually, that for some counties like Busia, children cross over from Uganda to come and work in as a border town in search for work opportunities. So these are undocumented children. So even if it's established that this is a child, yes, they're working, yes, but then how do you follow up? Because this is a migrant. It's a bit of a loophole with regards to the extent to which follow-up can actually be made.
It's rampant, though. From what you're saying, 1.3 million is not a small number. So by the time that information is collected, folks know about this. People are talking about it. And here we are putting it against the backdrop of an illegality when it comes to the hiring of children for, paid work, moving of children from what would be their homes or whatever it is, or even, and from what we've seen, even like in what we've seen in the news recently, a lifting of children from children's homes, as it were, or guarded spaces to take them to work. It's an illegality here, but it seems to be so normal that it's not shunned. It's not shunned. So how do we deal with that? It's illegal. Nobody's necessarily saying, well, I know of this case and or this case or the other case, and is reporting it for any kind of investigation, charge, prosecution. So it seems acceptable.
It is.
It is.
It is. A lot of the times it is. And again, there was mention of social norms. Due to our culture, it's normal. Go to your auntie. Go stay with so-and-so. And during that time, you actually get to work. So that really blurs the line between is this child doing normal work within the household, or is it actually child domestic work? However, one question you asked that is really important is then what can be done about it. The first one is mechanisms of monitoring and reporting. People need to report these cases when you see them, when you hear of them, that a child is actually being involved in domestic work. And this can be done through, we have different organizations working within our communities that can actually help. For example, Maisha Girls in Nairobi that runs a safe house. You can also collaborate with them to actually report these cases. A lot of people do not know how the reporting actually happens.
If they did, would it change? Especially since we're coming off the backdrop of something that's acceptable in society. How are we asking folks in communities for whom this thing is normal to then come and say, actually, you know what, so-and-so has a child in their home, and how do I do that when, for me, this is no big deal?
It has to begin from awareness, creation, and education. That is one of the mechanisms where you can change people's perceptions about, you guys, this is not the norm. This is not what should be happening. And that's one of the reasons why the NEAR program and the work that Freedom Fund is doing, or we are going to do, with the social and behavior change communication materials that are going to be developed and disseminated. It's really important because it's going to try to change the social norms, the social acceptability of child domestic work, because people can only act when they understand the gaps, when they understand why this is a problem. Currently, it's quite acceptable because it's the norm, it's acceptable, right? People do not even know that it's a problem. So that's why we're beginning with we've understood the behaviors. From the research that we've done, we've understood the behaviors, we've understood the social norms. Now we're going to the next step, which is to try to change the social preference for domestic work.
Okay. So from what I gather, from the work that you've done at Busara, from work that you're doing with Freedom Fund and the other partners, is you have observed that a greater percentage of children who are involved in labor are coming in through these channels. Parent says, I need my child to work, or employer says, I've got a relative, I want to help, or I know I have a child who I'd like to help, and so they let them come and work in my home. That is the majority. But then there's the other side, the extremes, and I'd like you to tell us more about a bit about the extremes, where, like Ndu said, children are vulnerable, they are in a children's home, and this person is operating a children's home, which is also happens to be a trafficking bureau, or somebody who is going and looking at vulnerable children maybe in the streets and luring them with promise of a job, a better future, and then they end up in this job where they are not even earning a thing. It is this person who's the agent who's earning. Have you come across such cases?
Currently, from the work, particularly from the research that we have done, we haven't come across such an extreme case like that.
Okay. Yeah. Because when you talk about the children who are crossing over from Uganda into Kenya, there are many children. In fact, I've even seen people on online commenting and saying many children that you find in Nairobi, they are being used as beggars, are foreign children.
Yeah.
And they're coming in as beggars. There are stories that have even been published in media houses. BBC, even on the BBC, children who are basically being used as beggars, but they are not the ones who are benefiting at all. Not even their parents back at home are aware of what's happening with their children. You haven't come across such?
From the research that we've come across, there's a bit of exploitation where, to some extent, it's not the child earning whatever wage they were promised. In a lot of cases, the wage goes to the parent. But they're given something relatively small, or in some cases they're not paid at all. Yeah, so those are the cases we've come across from our study.
From the Freedom Fund research, the one with the Institute of Children's Studies, you said the highest number or percentage that you found of these children who are in domestic work was in Busia, was it?
Busia and Kakamega. Yeah.
Busia and Kakamega. Why those two?
Particularly, they are the source of the work. So the other component was that in urban areas like in Nairobi and Kisumu, the domestic workers working in these areas are actually from Busia and Kakamega.
Why?
Different reasons. Economic factors are a big driver of children being forced into domestic work.
So children coming from Busia and Kakamega will end up in these urban areas as child laborers. With the knowledge and consent of their caregivers.
Some, yes. Some, even the children themselves, make a push. Because some are proactive enough and they have goals for themselves. They think, if I can do this work maybe for 1 year, I can save, maybe in good take up vocational training. So in the course of all that, they're willing to endure any mistreatment for the sake of earning something, so that in the long run they get out of it.
Other research shows that these two counties are among the highest when it comes to teenage pregnancies and girls dropping out of school. Is there a connection?
There's connection. From our research, we also found that teenage pregnancies are also a big driver for particularly girls, to be pushed into domestic work. Because when you're pregnant, then you have to drop out of school. Sometimes you're kicked out of home. You have nowhere to go. So where then do you run? If there's an employer somewhere or an agent who tells you, there's an opportunity, I can find an opportunity for you, you can be willing to go and actually take up that work. Yeah.
It still does seem to me that to quite an extent that it is a neglected area because, again, of what one would say a cultural, community, societal norms of acceptance, that nobody's really going to push at it because it's something that we've expected for the longest time. With the example that's just been given, if a girl is pregnant and she's a teenager, the acceptable thing is that she's going to drop out of school, will find something to do, grandmother will raise the baby, something.
While you go and send money home, I can take care of your child.
Exactly, you know? And so that's why I would see this as a very big challenge to even start to chip away at this thing, because of the fact that folks know that it's normal. And that becomes, to me, one of the... Because how then do we invite prosecution? How do we invite charge? How do we invite things like that, whereby the auntie or the mother is actually saying, well, you know, we need this extra buck. How do we... And for me, that now is an issue whereby we say, if this is wrong, if this is against whatever code of, or this is against the law, at the very minimum, how then do you start to break that, you know?
Let me take you a little further back. You said you plan to conduct research, you've conducted some research. Have you conducted research into determining how members of this community think, or what their ideas might be in bringing this to a halt?
Yes, to a great extent, that was covered in our research.
And what were the outcomes of? What did you find? What did the community suggest ought to be done?
Mechanisms for reporting was one. People are not aware of where and how to report this. And of course now, looking back, even when we look towards interventions, it's a matter of how do we make clear, as part of our awareness that we're going to do, how do we make it clear, how do you report this? Where do you even report, right? And even when you report, what follow-ups need to be made?
You know, when you communicate the idea of change, because this is really what you're communicating, and you want people to buy into it, what you say and what you think is understood is not necessarily what is understood. And what people respond to may not necessarily be a response to what is being asked. In many cases, a response to what they think you want to be told.
Exactly, yeah.
Why I'm asking this is, if people feel they've been part and parcel of formulating, or the ideas have been accepted as part of the process of the change that you want, they'll be accepting things they already understand and know about because they're the ones who told you. But if the ideas are given to them in a prescriptive manner, then what you'll get is what you call a passive-aggressive approach to it. On the one hand, they seem okay with it, but in reality, they are resisting it at every turn.
Absolutely. And that's why even when we want to look at our response and interventions, when we're going to these communities, we really do not want to demonize child domestic work. Because if someone comes at you very quite strongly demonizing what you're doing, then you're less likely to respond positively, even if the interventions we're proposing or putting on the table are actually good for you in the long run. So we really want to do a lot of awareness creation, getting people to understand the norms that you have come to accept, the norms as you know it. It shouldn't be the norm. There's this other dynamic that you should look at, understanding children's rights, for example, why it's important for your own child to have better opportunities to go to school instead of having to work as a domestic worker.
I hear you. I don't want to be prescriptive, but I hear the research team being prescriptive again. You are training, you are teaching. And my question is, against what background? Have you fully understood what these communities think about what you are speaking on? Have you understood fully what these communities believe ought to be the solution? Because we are bringing in an element of wrong. It's not that the communities don't understand what is wrong. They do.
They do, yeah.
But how then is this wrong then acceptable in a community that predominantly even believes they're Christian? Because of that element, the awareness of right and wrong is fairly acute. It's not numbed. So what is it that enables them to accept this? What is it? Because if the what is it isn't fully, I'm not saying it is not understood. It's not fully understood. The intervention may take years, but it may not necessarily achieve the results that are desired. It will just continue.
Absolutely.
Because I'm borrowing from FGM. You will find that the young women who are of age forget being coerced. Some will hide and go, and they will take themselves. And when you ask, they'll tell you it's an acceptability factor. I am in school, and everyone talks of having gone through the process, and I'm the only one who hasn't. So for that acceptability, they will take themselves.
Yeah.
So again.
Yes, we have understood. We've primarily understood what's going on in the communities, how people think about domestic work, and not just how people think, but how different people think, because we've established that there are really so many stakeholders involved with regards to domestic work. And one key thing, and one of the different approaches that we're going to use is to come up, now that we've understood the information gaps, their perceptions, and how they do think about domestic work, we're going to use that information to actually inform our interventions. So our interventions are not coming in quite generally. It's not going to be a blanket approach to the different stakeholders. That's why it was very important to take a step back and understand who are the people involved in this trade? How are they involved? What do they even think? Because now that we've understood that, we're now taking a step back and working our interventions from the ground up in a way that will actually respond to their perceptions and the information needs.
I think it's also then important to see, like you said, the factors that are contributing to this. And if then some of those factors can be addressed, you'd end up dealing with the issues. On International Women's Day, the Kenya Human Rights Commission launched what they called a red card campaign. And they were saying, we want to highlight the counties that have the highest numbers of teenage pregnancies. And this is based off of data by the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey of 2022. The counties with the highest numbers of teenage pregnancies: Nairobi 452, Kakamega 328, Bungoma 294 as number 3, Nakuru, Kiambu, Kilifi, Meru, Kisii, Machakos, Narok. I'm sure when it comes to your data as well, like you've said, the areas with the source of child laborers are also the same. So there is that correlation between teenage pregnancy, school dropout, child labor. Same teens following through this. If we address the issue of teenage pregnancies, then we start also, in a way, moving the needle on reducing the cases of now these children who are mothers who need to raise their children, so they have to earn so they can send money back home to support the children to start school. Then the children will also then become pregnant at teenage.
Absolutely. It's such a cycle.
It's a bad one.
Say that actually.
But thank you very much, Monica, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Monica K is a consortium coordinator at Busara, a research institution. We've been talking about the realities of modern day child trafficking and child labor. 8 a.m. news time.
I'm Ndu Okoh. The Senate Committee on Health is scheduled to have a joint committee sitting with the Departmental Committee on Health of the National Assembly. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss the ongoing health worker strike and deliberate on the current status of negotiations between the unions and the national and county governments. Those who will be in attendance include Health, Treasury and Labour Cabinet Secretaries, Council of Governors, SRC and PSC chairpersons, as well as KMPDU, KUKO and medical laboratory officials. The meeting comes just a day after President William Ruto urged medics who've been on strike for more than 45 days to return to work.
We need to tighten our belts and live within our means as a country in order to make more resources available to manage our economic challenges and to invest in goods and services that benefit all, not just some citizens. It is neither just, proper, nor reasonable for any group to make demands that run counter to this imperative, elevate their claims above legitimate benchmarks, or exceed our economic capacity. I want to urge workers, including our daughters and sons who are doctors, that as social partners, we must swiftly address the pertinent issues at hand, ensuring that essential services continue uninterrupted and our commitment to serving our citizens remain unswerving.
MPs will today cast their vote to approve Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi's ouster motion, paving way for the creation of a select committee to investigate him. The development is career-threatening to Linturi's tenure in the cabinet, as the motion is said to be enjoying support from even the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition. In today's motion, at least one-third of the 349 members will have to vote for the motion for it to move to the next level. This translates to 116 members. National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Ndai has appealed to MPs to turn out in large numbers when the motion will be canvassed in the House.
Yes, Honorable Ndai. Thank you very much, the Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, today you have made history and you have put this House on the pedestal of a transformative institution. This motion by the Honorable Jack Wamboka is the last resort that the people of this country, through the elected leadership.
Order, Honorable Andai, you are anticipating debate.
A chief inspector of police based at KBC police station in Matungulu sub-county, Machakos County, has lost his life in a river. Cyprian Walunya tragically drowned after his vehicle was submerged in River Kware. The body of the officer was found after members of the public reported that a motor vehicle had submerged at the river. Elsewhere, the body of a middle-aged man has been recovered from Swam River in West Pokot County. Kacheliba OCPD Victor Nzaka says the body was found floating on the water, suggesting that it may have been transported by water from a distant place.
Kutoka jana na juzi 2 days imekuwa na mvua mingi sana upande wa Uganda. Hata Kachiliba jana imekuwa na juzi imekuwa. But huyu mtu ni kama amesombwa na hii maji kutoka mbali mpaka hapa. Na hapa kwa sababu huyu mtu ni mrefu, ni pana, ndio mtu aliweza kupata kuonekana na watu wakapiga nduru. Mwili umetolewa, the body imepelekwa mochari Kapenguria. Up to now hakuna mtu amejua hii mwili ni ya kutoka wapi ama ni huyu mtu ni kutoka wapi.
Meanwhile, tourists were evacuated by air from Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve after more than a dozen hotels, lodges and camps were flooded as heavy rains continue to batter the country. Tourist accommodation facilities were submerged after a river within the Masai Mara broke its banks early Wednesday. The Kenya Red Cross said it rescued 36 people by air and 25 others by land. The Narok County government said it deployed 2 helicopters to carry out evacuations in the expansive conservation area.
Tuliweza kuokoa wageni ambao walikuwa wako kwa hizi makamps na wote wako sawa, hatujapata vifo yoyote.
And finally, the House of Congress Committee has requested the Speaker to invite President William Ruto to address a joint session on his official visit to the United States from the 23rd of this month. Ruto would be the first Kenyan president to address a joint session of Congress and the first African head of state to address Congress since former Liberian President Ellen Johnson left 18 years ago. Such an invitation would underscore the importance of the US-Kenya relationship and send a valuable signal to Africans. The two nations are celebrating the historic 60th anniversary of their diplomatic relationship. That's the Newswire. I'm Ndu Okoh.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so what's happening in the city this morning? A bit of a drizzle still coming down here and there. On the Thika Superhighway, we've got a little bit of it as you approach Survey and then out into the CBD. Northern Bypass has quite some movement. Limuru Road is very busy as you're coming in from Kitisuru towards Village Market, out towards Muthaiga, and then on to your number of Parkland avenues. So that's busy there. It's busy coming in from Spring Valley towards Lower Kabete. That's going to take on some for some time. Langata Road is busy. Ngong Road is busy. Going towards Rilo Dingaway is busy. And we did see yesterday, that area is called what? Bagavi. That area really flooded. And another thing that if you don't know how deep it is, please don't get in. Yes, it applies there. Coming in then from Cabanas towards North Airport Road, the loop then going towards Outer Ring, in and outbound traffic from the Eastern Bypass. That's very busy this morning. We're keeping an eye on all of this. We're smack dab in the middle of traffic hour. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X hashtag the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, we'd like to encourage you to follow the Kenya National Highways Authority on X. Please check their updates regularly. There are areas where they notice there are issues on the road. They announce, okay, we are temporarily closing this section of the road, and these are the alternatives that you can use. So they're good and they're active on X.
Yep.
On the ground, they may not be. So it's actually very important for you to follow them on X.
There are quite a number of changes that are coming regularly. Yesterday we saw at least 4, and that was during the day in terms of what's now being closed, what's being opened, what's being, so we're following there in terms of what's happening, because more and more as the hours tick by, more and more roads are closing because of the rains.
Yep. That is Kenya. We expect the same should be happening with the Kenya Urban Roads Authority and the Rural Roads Authorities as well. They should all be doing this. Just say, if there's a section of the road that is dangerous, announce and clearly close that road and give people clear alternatives, both on X, on social media, but also people on the ground. Can you mobilize marshals to be there and say, this road is closed because of flooding. If you're heading this direction, these are the options that you have. If you're heading this other direction, these are the options that you have. And also cognizant of the fact that there may be people who don't close at the Thika Superhighway because people are going to Garissa. There may be people who are just going up across.
Yes.
So what happens then as well, right? Showmax,
indeed. You do what? You shika Showmax. Upgrade your viewing experience with Showmax. Choose from the entertainment plans for multiple devices or mobile only. So mobile only, laptop, mobile plus TV, plus all those things.
Plus laptop.
Your laptop. Computer at the table,
tablet.
However you want. Thank you very much. You see, tablet, those ones. How do you want to watch? You can. All you need to do is subscribe as low as 300 shillings a month, and you can have access to all of these things. Your TV series, CT will call it movie. Your movies, CT will call it movie.
Documentary, CT will call it
movie.
Football match,
movie.
Yes.
So long as things are moving on the screen, CT says it's a what? Movie.
Absolutely correct.
He's actually graduated. Many years ago, we used to call them pictures.
And then I moved to film.
We're going to film.
Now we are
movie. Are you seeing the movement?
Yeah.
Well done. And if there's a gun where people are shooting at each other, even better. Because that's the kind of thing you can also find on Showmax, right? You can catch the Premier League as well. Really doesn't matter what it is that you want to watch, you will find it. Highlights, live matches, fan content, whatever it is, you shall find it on Showmax. How do you find out what information is available? Go on down to www.showmax.com, or you can download the Showmax app on your Play Store or App Store and then pay and then watch. Another really nifty thing, where there's data Wi-Fi like this, you can download, because you know you're going on a road trip, maybe somewhere there. You wake up, you say, I want to watch a movie. Watch. Where there's no data.
Very
Shika Showmax. Don't let go.
Very nice. Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir is the governor of Mombasa County. He'll be joining us shortly to talk to us about what's happening, particularly in the response to this disaster. What's the situation like in Mombasa? What are they doing in Mombasa? We see every time there's small rain, Mombasa, flood. Small rain, flooding. And he was here last time and he said, we are working so much and so hard at, first of all, dredging and clearing the drainages and making sure that there is clear pathway for water from this side into the lake, the ocean. What are they doing now? He'll be here, he'll tell us. How many people are affected? Are there people who've been affected? How are they sorting it out? And then from the Council of Governors perspective, are governors having a conversation, all 47 of them, on how to respond and react to this collectively? And then are they reaching out, or have they been reached out to by the national government? As he gets here, we'd like to say shame on you to the following people. One of them is the Honorable Dede Nyoro. He's a member of parliament for Kiharu constituency. Honorable Edwin Mogo for Madhioya. Betty Maina, the woman rep for Muranga County. Muranga Senator Joe Nyoto, alongside Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Edwin Wairago, not him, we don't say that. MPs John Kagushi of Mokorine, Njoroge Wainaina of Odhaya, Rehab Mokami, the woman rep for Nyeri County. These people, all of them, were playing some politics yesterday. Tell us again. One group lands helicopter, gudu. Another one lands. Let me start by saying what was happening. There was an area, there's an area called Keganja Village in Muranga. Over the weekend, there was a landslide.
Yes.
Following these heavy rains. People died. Others were displaced. They are living at a primary school. Now, they need support. And there is a reaction and response that's needed from the county government, the national government, the local leadership, all of them rallying together to support the people who have to bury their loved ones and who also have to seek help on where to move, to seek better shelter and move higher ground. Incoming the leaders. Go.
We have arranged the ground.
Okay.
It was unfortunate we could not put a red carpet because, it is raining. The red carpet would have been swallowed up by the mud. However, there were people on ground to arrange for the Deputy President's arrival. And as the people saw, who is coming? Deputy President. Very good, because he will be here to support us, isn't it? Yes. No sooner than they heard the gudu. It was not the Deputy President. Who was it? Ndu has alighted from the chopper. Do they normally alight? They alight. Alighted from the chopper, helicopter, and addressed the crowd. He came wind assisted. He came wind assisted by 1 million shillings by the president, in addition to his own 1 million shillings. So how many?
2 million.
And the people who came with him, they were now giving some, because you must understand, we are not like you, 200,000. So the people said, our Messiah has come. In fact, we were looking, but we have found. We pray to God to protect you so that you'll be blessed. In fact, we thought you were the Deputy President. But now that you have come, we have seen that it is a blessing that has been dropped from the open basket of heaven. They did talk. He gave his money. They now did what? Entered helicopter, left. Shortly, Gafla what?
Bin
Deputy President now arrives. With who?
His own gudu.
His own gudu alone. People... He came with people, but who did he meet? Only the area representative. Where is everybody? We did not know that you were coming. In fact, when we saw the helicopter landing, we thought it was you. But we realized that it was somebody else. We now assumed you were not coming. He called the area MP a what? A marauding mongoose.
A kaiho gashangi.
Gashangi? He said it is only a mongoose that leaves his own house during a banquet. What's wrong with you? We're coming to see you and then you're not there.
I'm bringing the feast
and then you're not there. What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? That is how the thing became. On one side, people are telling him the chosen one has entered plane and gone back. Deputy President now said, no, you people have done me wrong.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
The governor has arrived. So as the conversation continues, so this is what happened. These leaders who accompanied Ndu Okoh were showering praises on Nyoro. They were here, there, to poleni sana watu wamekufa. But let me tell you about Ndu Okoh. He is the chosen one. Senator Nyoto claimed that they had gone there with Nyoro in his capacity as the National Assembly Budget and Appropriation Committee chairman so that he could elaborate the government's program towards assisting the 52 families who've been accommodated at the Ngoto Secondary School. 52 families.
52 families.
Accommodated at a secondary school.
Yes.
They are not in their homes.
No.
They are in a secondary school.
Yes.
Leaders have come. They have come to talk about, Nyoro speaks and meets with the president all times, and we shall send him to deliver our wishes to the president. When you pray, tell God something about Nyoro, because he is our hope and he's our leader.
Can you imagine?
I will not say much. Let those who understand know what I'm speaking about. Let those who understand know what I'm speaking about. They say in Kikuyu, Moge dali mehere ohoro. No.
Now you know.
Yes.
Women said,
woman rep,
came here.
Betty Minor. What did she say?
You came here because you love us and you are merciful, and we shall not forget that you gave us a shoulder to lean on when we were mourning. As women, we shall ask our God to continue blessing you and uplifting you from one grace to another and protect you against your enemies. And we recognize you as the senior most leader in the region.
Please, let's remind people, who's the audience? 52 homeless families.
People whose families had been buried alive by a landslide.
And who had lost their homes and were now living in schools or churches.
Yes.
But we're coming to say our God
protect
has anointed.
The last time such praises were heaped on someone was when Uhuru became president. And those praises turned to scorn.
What's wrong with us?
So just watch this particular space the gentleman on whom praise are being heaped. Beware.
Really, shame on these leaders.
What is wrong?
Shame on them. Shame on them. Shame on all of them who decide to politicize something like this.
The
entire country right now is facing this kind of problems, and this is the time you decide, okay,
let us politic.
Let's engage in a pissing contest.
Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Under the circumstances, Nairobi is not the same since the last time I actually came to SpiceFM. Crazy weather patterns.
You've seen the floods?
No, actually, I'm lucky enough. Whenever I do come, I do see the aftermath of the floods. But who's to say that they have not seen what has been going on? It's all over in the news, and it's a challenge. And I think leaders are meant to be there. Leaders are there at that particular time during that challenge. I always say that whenever you face a challenge as a leader, it's because God has a reason for you to be a leader at that particular time. And to me, I prefer that reason being that I'm the person who can be able to do what needs to be done. That's the reason why God made you to be a leader at that particular moment. But I feel it's not just Nairobi alone. The weather has been... it's all over the world, but right now in Kenya we are having, in the Ukambani counties as well, Aimahiu, where you had just been reading the newspapers. The weatherman has indicated that for this particular month, we're going to be expecting extremely high, plus 300 mm in the coastal counties. And according to that particular report, other than the Kwale area, but from Mombasa all the way up to Lamu, is going to be experiencing very, very heavy rainfall.
You're here to tell us what the plans are for this and going forward. But as we begin the conversation, listen to the proverb. This week, the proverbs are from
the Republic of Algeria. A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
Yeah, I think what that means basically is someone is going to sell someone out. As simple as that. As simple as that. Am I right?
You are absolutely right.
Someone's going to snitch. You'll be sold out at some point.
A secret shared is a secret no more.
Yeah, indeed.
There's no secret between just more than one person. That's it.
Yeah. Governor, the second time you were here on this show, there had been some flooding in Mombasa.
Yes.
And there were issues that were being raised in terms of the blocked drainages, which ended up with people actually getting affected. And you had even said, what we need to do is also clear up some of these areas. We are going to clear some of these settlements so that we can give water the pathway it needs to head to the ocean. Tell us the update now with this current rainfall.
I'm glad. Not that Mombasa has not rained. It's been raining the same time it has been raining in Mombasa. In Nairobi, it has been raining in Mombasa as well. The challenges that we had then, not the challenges that we have now. But you know how it is whenever, and I always tell this to my people, never get demoralized. It's human nature. People always forget that there was a time this is what would happen when it rains. And when you have just one more place that is remaining, then it becomes a challenge. People always look at just that one particular place. When I came in here, it was all over social media. The railways roundabout had been flooded. Kibarani had been flooded. We had areas in Shanzu that had been totally flooded. Certain areas in Likoni. We did what needed to be done. Once the rain starts hitting you, then you realize, one, where is it leaking? You start realizing where is it blocking, and we fixed what needed to be fixed. Right now, there are certain places where are totally out of our control. One of them, which is the only one actually, it's the only image you'll actually see on social media going around, and this is the place popularly known as Quick Mart. It's on Links Road. It's unfortunate, and it's very, very unfortunate, because that road, first of all, is the national government road. Historically, it had never been built with any drainage system, because it has never been assumed that growth will be in that level. So water had always been going on the sides. And this time round, what ended up happening is we sunk some vertical drainage pits, which eventually, because of the heavy amount of rain, they ended up getting full, and not only getting full, but then the water stayed continuous. I'm glad recently it's unfortunate, but and action is going to be taken. But recently, I sent in DG. We had to go in with a whole team to try and find out, what exactly is the issue. And then you realize that some private developer decides that because my house is this way, let me just add a heap of sands so that I can be able to make my road. And no one has the right to be able to build a road. Even if you're a donor and you want to do a road, you need to be able to do it in consultation with government for reasons like these. But as we speak right now, the place has been cleared. We had to clear the pathways across all sides. We've done some major works. Well, considering that it is a county government, we've done some major works, like I said, in places like Shanzu. We did what needed to be done. Currently, we have contracts in an area called Ziwani Lasco, which again was caused by just one reason. When they were doing the Kibarani, for those who know Mombasa, when they were building that road, what they ended up doing is they discarded or disregarded the old drainage system that had been there from the colonial times.
Okay.
Now, and this is exactly what is happening in Nairobi. Water is coming in. If you've got a situation where you've got a glass and you're trying to pour in water, you can either, if you pour it slowly, the water is not going to drop out. But when you go and pour all of it at a go, and then not only that, now the outlet on this other side ends up being smaller than the inlet, there's definitely going to be an overflow. And we're giving out a contract as a county government, despite the fact, again, that is not our road, but we have no option. We have sent our request to the national government that they need to do the drainage system at Links Road, as we have already sorted the problem right now. But if the rains do come in, and they do come in heavy, there's nothing short of saying that it's not an issue that is going to be about drainage anymore, because the drainage systems have been sorted out.
How drastic of interventions must be taken to deal with this? One of the issues that you mentioned is that private developers doing certain things. Obviously, they've been given approvals by county to be able to develop, and their behavior.
It doesn't start with just.
Does it contribute to that? And how drastic do we have to get when it concerns some of these issues that we talk about today? Now with the flooding,
it doesn't start with issuance of building permits. It actually starts with. You have to take it back. All this starts with title deeds being given on riparian land. The whole thing is one vicious circle. You go and you try and historically, we've seen situations where former regimes went to court to try and challenge some of these. And the judicial system says, no, this actually is a title deed belonging to so-and-so. And when someone is now applying, it's their rightful title on paper and by law. But that's not God's law, because God's law is that this is a place where water has to be able to pass. What have we done as a county government? In areas like Shanzu, we had to go and talk to the people who developed. I prefer having more of a subtle approach to this, because some of the people who actually have developed there are third or fourth buyers.
Yep.
It's not them who caused this problem. It's probably two generations before, or two teams before them. And when you have a situation like that, and you look at someone, you either go there mercilessly, or you come up with a solution. And in places like Shanz, we came up with solutions, and they understood that, look, water has to pass. We did what needed to be done.
What did you do? What kind of agreements did you come up with?
It's not an agreement, but we had to come up with a way where part of the land had to be able to go, so that we can put in larger culverts for water, because this thing was not going to affect everyone, just selected people. It was going to affect everyone, and it worked. Does it mean that we need to be able to accept this? No. And right now, our teams have instructions for any riparian land right now. You might have a title deed, but you can stay with a piece of paper. Approvals will not be able to be given. It's too risky. With climate change the way it is going on, what we're doing right now is just going to mess things up even more. And we need to do what needs to be done.
Right.
Tough decisions, but they have to be taken.
But Governor, do you know the riparian lands in Mombasa?
Yes, we do.
How?
There's actually a whole report on it. We have a team that has done this, and even the other time when we were going through, like I said, the area of Quickmart, and a definition of what is actually riparian and what is not riparian land. Waterways, what are not the waterways. There's a whole study that we have as a county.
So is this
I'm not
information?
a geologist, so if you ask me,
is this information also with the lands registry, with the surveyors, with the Water Resources Authority,
yes,
with the National Environment Management Authority? Are all these agencies having the same information that you have, that this is actually riparian land,
of course,
through and through?
Of course. The surveyors, yes. The people from the different departments, I would assume they do, but I know that we do. I hope that they do.
Yeah.
But again, this is the reason why devolution needs to be able to be finalized. Right now, there's so many functions that have not been finalized to county level, including issuance, and even during my time, my life as a governor, the IGTRC did go ahead and gazette some of these functions that would have been able to clear matters, that it is, if it is land, it is the county government that is meant to be doing A, B, C.
Yeah.
And if that was to happen, then going forward, things will now be different, because it is now one docket that is in charge. But you can't have one part doing this, another part doing this, another part doing this, another part doing that. A classic example, which is not necessarily has anything to do with riparian land, but a classic example is the data that we have on land ownership in the county government, in any county government. I think the only one that managed to get it digitized is actually only Nairobi, and this was done during the former governments.
Yeah.
But there's no county government that has matching
land registry.
Yes, and by the way, not to say that we've not tried. We've really tried to get this done. We have really tried. We've even posted interns at the national government offices. We've invested so much, and nothing has come through. We even wrote and we said we want to be able, allow us but they said they have to do it themselves because it's very, very sensitive records for people just to walk in, and which is understandable. But right now we have to come up with a solution. And initially there was law where if someone registers their properties, they need to be able to do it concurrently with county governments. So that we can be able to know who's to be held liable, who is the person who's doing this. So right now, the only time that people can be able to come is when they want to build, because our procedures, I know I can speak on behalf of Mombasa, is our system will not allow you to even go further in the application. If your land rates are not cleared and your land paperwork is not in place, you can't even be able to move further in the application because everything is digital.
Let's take a break. 27 minutes to 9. Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir is the governor of Mombasa County. He's our guest this morning, talking about the ongoing national disaster, what Mombasa is doing and has done about it, and also he'll tell us, as the Council of Governors, what are they doing, all 47 of them. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Experience the vibrant pulse of Africa at Festac Africa Festival 2024 in Kisumu. Join us for a week-long celebration of culture, music, fashion, and more from May 20th to 26th. Dive into sustainable growth with food, art, education, and youth empowerment. Don't miss Africa's premier Pan-African and global cultural exchange program. Get your tickets now. 1 day for 500 Kenya shillings or the full week for 2,000 Kenya shillings. Kisumu County welcomes the world to be part of Africa's forward movement. Act fast and secure your spot in this unforgettable journey. To register, just go to www.festacafrica.org.
Shika so much more from the Premier League on your phone or tablet with Showmax. Skips around Kaminsky. With Showmax, you can pause and rewind live matches and start them late and watch them as live if you are late. And Showmax has a range of data-saving options so that your network doesn't affect your fun.
It's ended up in the back of the net.
Shika so much more from the Premier League with Showmax from just 500 shillings a month by card or by M-Pesa. Shika Showmax. Streaming for Africa. Sign up on showmax.com.
Lights. Digger. Action. Do you have the passion, the interest to tell a story to the world in your own style? Well, we're ready to take you in and help you grow your talents in the media industry. The Standard Group, in partnership with Talanta Institute, is offering a media training and incubation program courtesy of Standard Talanta Academy, where we nurture and guide industry talents on an array of topics from writing, reporting, media law and ethics, investigative journalism and research to the Kenya Copyright Board, Kenya Film Commission and the Kenya Films and Classification Board legal frameworks. To apply to the Standard Talanta Academy for our upcoming May intake, visit www.talanta.ac.ke or call 0724 468 468. The Standard Talanta Academy.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 23 and we'll see highs of 24 in Nakuru. 25 will be the high and mostly cloudy in Nyeri, and we'll see highs of 22 in Eldoret. Sunny Mombasa at 26 and at Malindi mostly cloudy at 27. 22 and cloudy in Kisumu with cloudy conditions at 19 in Kakamega. We're looking into Kampala, that's cloudy at 21 and sunny at 26 in Dar es Salaam. Johannesburg is sunny at 15 and Mogadishu at 27 is partly sunny with Addis Ababa sunny at 16. Lagos is clear at 27 with clear conditions in Kinshasa at 24.
Spice up your life.
Okay, where are we? Into traffic hour. We're looking at traffic coming in on the Eastern Bypass, in and outbound traffic, as then you get onto Outer Ring. So that's going to continue for some time. Also then onto Huru Highway, getting into the city, picking up traffic here and there as you get towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, a little bit of that, and then touching a bit on Ngong Road, and then out towards the city. It's not too packed, not too crazy. It's your normal Thursday morning traffic. We're also seeing heightened levels of traffic on Limuru Road coming out towards the CBD. At the Pangani Tunnel, it's just a little bit of that left. We'll keep an eye on things. It might pick up later, but for now, not too bad. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
2 minutes to 9, our conversation with the Governor of Mombasa continues. Governor, there are many who have said what's happening now, because it's happening countrywide. All counties are affected. The president called a special cabinet meeting on Tuesday to discuss this particular situation. There are those that said they were expecting that the president would come out and say, we have decided to declare this a national emergency or disaster, so that then something can be done collectively about it. What do you think?
A national disaster does not need a presidential declaration. A disaster is a disaster. This is already a disaster. Literally every county is feeling the effect of this. The reason why you're seeing a lot of it being highlighted in places like Nairobi is and Mombasa initially when we had this problem is because of built-up area. Now, whenever you have a built-up area that is larger, you have a larger population. Affected persons are more. When you have more affected persons, then naturally you're going to be able to see all these kind of human interactions and people making noise about it. But does not mean that this has not affected every other part. I mean, who would have ever imagined that you need to get a boat to be able to cross in places like Garissa? That is the amount of rain that is there. The issue that we need to ask ourselves is, one, we can never be able to control natural disasters. Yes, there've been instances that right now we have been able and trying to be able to rectify historic mistakes that were able to be done. But the kind of rain that is there, even if Nairobi, I'm going to go back again to Nairobi because that is where the story seems to be, and I'm saying this not in defense of anything else, but the kind of rain that has been there, scientific methodologies that have been able to prove that this is not normal rain.
Yeah.
What would anyone do? But the next question you're going to ask yourself is, one, how prepared are we for a disaster? Two, how are we going to be able to react after all this is going to go? Because we're not going to have rain forever. Is it going to be able to slowly, hopefully, God willing, is it going to be to subside? Yes, the rains will go down. So the question is, how prepared are we in the issue of handling a disaster? Two, how prepared are we for the aftermath?
Which is where the conversation and the question comes in. At national level, at counties, together as Council of Governors, what is this response? Because now, prepared, we are where we are right now. How are we responding to it, and how are we preparing for the aftermath? When the rain goes, what happens? So the question directly is, to your knowledge at national level, is there a team that is specifically dealing with these issues?
Well, in terms
and
of...
then secondly, that and the counties, is there a team that's been formed at summit level that talks about national government and all the counties coming together and saying, this is how we shall address this? this information that we shall send. For example, Mombasa, maybe this time the rains have come in and they're heavy and more people have been affected. We need support from the neighboring counties, from national government. Is there such a coordination mechanism?
No, actually, there's we've not been able to sit as a summit. A summit is a constitutional body that is meant to meet, but we are not yet at that stage or that timeline for us to be able to meet. But what we have been doing is meeting as IBEC. IBEC is basically, and it's chaired by the Deputy President, who is in charge of basically listening to the issues and concerns from the county governments together with IGTRC. The last meeting that we had, I attended. There were 2 of us who actually attended. The other governors, I think it was because of a short notice. And there was a national response team that he'll have to forgive me, but he's a gentleman from the army. I've forgotten his name. He was introduced to me on that particular day that was in charge. Our technical teams met earlier in the morning, and then later on they presented to us the whole case scenario. I did make the position of Mombasa very clear that let us do this in a very, very coordinated way. It doesn't help at all, either during response or after, for people to try and do this, that no, I'm the one who did this, you did not do this, I'm the one who did this, you did not do this. And I raised my issue. It was there, the media was there, and I said it. No offense to anyone, but when you do things and there's no coordination, it doesn't augur well for the public. It doesn't augur well for the interests of our people.
So are we at a point, sorry to cut you, are we at a point where we need another conversation for a better coordination?
I think from where I sit right now, we're past levels of just conversing. There's no more conversation. It is an issue of action. I remember last time when I came in here, I can't remember, was it before or after I came in here? And we got accused that counties had been given money and everything else, and then the truth came out that we had not. And that is still the stand. What we're using is our own source and what is coming in from equitable share. This is, everything is going to boil down to cash flows. Like you said, right now, disaster preparedness, other than the fact that people are being sent mattresses, people are being sent this, life is trying to be, we're trying to save a life in a couple of areas. The biggest question you need to ask yourself is, after the rains have gone down, you're going to have diseases. You need to be able to ensure that your hospitals are going to be ready. Doctors are on strike. You need to be able to ensure that you have some medics who are going to be at work. You're going to have to fix these roads. Movement of people is an economic factor, is something that actually determines. So that is where we need to sit down and be able to agree. Are we looking at rebuilding these counties? And if we're looking at rebuilding these counties, where's the money going to come from?
But there needs to be a now conversation, because everything with all of what we're looking at is all dependent on time. And this is where we must ask the question that, are these decisions that are being taken, if any, dependent on information and data? And all of this heavily on the data that we are getting from Kenya Met right now, or even other meteorological departments around the world, that we know that in the next couple of days, the rain is going to come down. Like you said, we've talked about the numbers, it's going to come down. But we also know that it is periodic, that after time, it will stop. So would this action then that you speak of not be necessary to be taken now, because we know that in the next 2 weeks the rains will subside. We know this. We've been told.
And I agree with you, and that's why I'm saying right now, for me, it is no longer an issue of even talking anymore. We have an IBEC meeting. I think it's on. Is it on 6th? If I'm sorry, but yes, I believe it's going to be on 6th. We have an IBEC meeting where one of the agendas that is going to be discussed is actually this, and I strongly believe. The stand of the Council of Governors should be, and is rather, that we've already passed that phase right now of how prepared are we. Because if you were caught off guard, you were caught off guard. Two, we have already passed that phase of were you able, should you have been able to save a bit of more life here? Who gave the approval? Who did what? Then after that now comes the aftermath. The aftermath is, what are the lessons that we were able to learn? Are we looking like right now, one of the reports that our own CCM, which is popularly known as Cabinet in Mombasa, has been able to adopt, is bearing in mind all these lessons that we've been able to get is from approvals of buildings, people who approved buildings and they're still working at the county, and you approved a building that ended up a problem with the sewer and the drainage, will actually, and this is the instruction that I've given, I'm literally transferring you to the area that has the worst sewer and the worst drainage, because you can't allow other people's children, and you're still working for me. Will I be deemed that I'm ruthless? But I'm hoping it'll be a lesson for those who are going to come after you. Because you're not going to you're not going to be able to tell me that it was political pressure. Then let the political pressure, you need to now start working at an environment where you're also going to be able to smell what other people's children are smelling. And that is being done now as we're speaking. We're actually going through all these approvals that were done. If you are working at the county and you're the one who was in charge of passing some things, of declaring some things that they were done and they were not done, you will go and work in areas, whether it is going to be the dump site or you're going to work at the sewer treatment plants. And that's where you're going to be from morning till evening. Let it be known that this is who we are, so that whoever else is going to try and do something will know what the aftermath is going to be, because we did the mapping out of the whole place. We did what needed to be done. Secondly, after all this has been able to go down, we need to now ask ourselves, what are we've mapped out, and we've given our report to national government. There's no way that the county government of Mombasa, unless you're going to tell me that I have to increase my own source revenue by such a huge amount, and that means putting a huge toll on the people, because it's going to cost billions to redo, literally billions, to redo the whole drainage system of Mombasa. Not millions.
It's B.
It's in B. Not one, not two. And this is if you say that people are seeing the constructions that are ongoing, and you're looking at it. Mombasa is lucky. I was able to partner with Trademark right now in on the Nyeri Road. There's huge construction going on along there, which had been a problem of the people in that area, and it was an outfall that was coming in from many other places. But then again, until when are we going to be able to start continuously knocking on people's doors? And you need to fix the problem immediately after. Mombasa has been lucky. We tried to sort out with our own source, and we were able to build a number of the drainage systems on our own, a number of them. And what we did is we basically looked at and learned from the lessons. When we came in, I think, was it about 2 months after being sworn in when we got the El Ninos? It was about 2 months. We didn't stop. We looked at the problem, that this is where the problem is. We know where the problem is. And that's the reason why I'm telling you today, when it rains at Kibarani, you're not going to see floods. When it rains at the railway roundabout, you're not going to see floods. In the CBD, there are no floods.
Even in Kisauni.
We're not saying that the problem has been finished, but at the same time, people will always focus on that one area, which was Quickmart. Unfortunately,
and you're saying that has been sorted?
It has been sorted, but it can never be sorted unless we're going to do something that is going to cost us at least, because we need to put a drainage system on that road. There's none. The road was built very, very, very many years ago. Years before I even could imagine that I'd even be a member of parliament, forget about being a governor. So historically, whoever did it, I'm sure had a lot of...
Nyeri was a private estate, remember?
Yes, it was an area. As a matter of fact, there's some areas within Nyeri that unless you are actually a Mzungu, you're not even allowed to reach in certain areas during the colonial time. So these were areas where now is when the population has grown. And then some funny guy decides, you know what, no, when it rains, I'm feeling a bit of rain coming into my road, mud will go near my house. So what did they decide to do? They went and put a heap of sand so that they can be able to try and, build a road for themselves, and without even consulting the county.
Do you have a supervisory capacity within, say, your roads department or your works department that ensures that clever people like this one don't go around inconveniencing everybody?
Coincidentally, on that material day, immediately after I finished our CCM meeting, I had to fly to Nairobi, because it was the day that I'm telling you we met with the Deputy President, and I asked the Deputy Governor to take charge and go physically on the ground. And right now we are already summoning some of the engineers in our county. We're already summoning the water administrators as well. It's important to get an answer. How did someone just go and put in sand and affecting a whole area without someone somewhere?
Where were you?
Governor, there's a question I have to ask before our time runs out. Is it true that the public...
Why does time run out very quick whenever I come here?
It's not just you.
Really?
Ask anybody who's come here.
Yeah, it's true.
You are doing okay. Some people just say, guys, surely, we've only just begun. What do you mean we've ended? Okay. Is it true that the Public Finance Act states that 2% of counties, 2% of any allocation the county has to be set aside for disaster management?
The law is there. I'm not exact. I wouldn't want to sound misleading. But I've not memorized the act. But yes, the law is there that you need to be able to set aside money for disaster. Did we set aside money for disaster? Mombasa did. Guess what happened? And it's so unfortunate. These are some of the issues that we're discussing as the Council of Governors on Monday. The Control of Budget actually refused for us to spend our disaster money.
Sorry?
Yes. The Control of Budget refused for us to be able to spend part of our money.
Why?
For one reason. And I was asking myself, but this is a disaster. You can't come and tell me now that I need to change a certain aspect of the Mombasa Disaster Act because it is deemed to be unlawful. Not the act itself. A clause in the act that needed to be amended. A very, very technical terminology that had to come up. Not that law would have affected any person, not that law in any way. And at the time of a disaster, it would have been better to say that, look, yes, as much as we're approving this right now, we're giving it this time frame. Because unfortunately, again, the way we have such a vibrant constitution and laws in this country, even an amendment like that, if you don't pass it through public participation, some funny smart pants will just take you to court. It's that bad. Some funny person will just take you to court.
Not funny.
And let me tell you, no. Hear me out. Hear me out. Procedure, yes, it is procedure. But imagine you're dealing with a procedure that, one, does not affect anyone. It is just a technical terminology that has to be worked on, whether it is this CC or this CC. It was so funny in detail that I can't even remember it. But so the controller writes back to you and tells you can't spend that money. So what does that mean? We have to be able to take it back as executive to public participation, send it to assembly, they take it through public participation. By the time that process is done, the person you wanted to save with that disaster fund is probably dead.
The controller of budget is trying to make sure that some funny governor does not,
which is good. But I think for this particular one, so how
did you sort it out?
We never used disaster money.
Okay.
Mombasa has been able to run with when you have goodwill from people. We never used disaster money. So for the avoidance of doubt, because I did read this one time in some social media that Molecula Pesa disaster, we didn't even spend that money.
So it's still available in the case that it's needed and we need to drop stuff really quickly. That money is still there.
Yes, unfortunately, we've just finished our public participation. We're now sending it to the assembly. So I don't know whether we will need it for this particular disaster
or future one. Final question in a minute. Doctors are on strike. Are your doctors and clinical officers and some nurses on strike?
Some of them are. It is very unfortunate. I'm the one who pays. I've never failed to pay. I've never failed to honor my part of the bargain. You're hitting me because of collective responsibility on your part. And when I say you're hitting me, I don't mean you're hitting me as an individual. You're hitting me on behalf of the people of Mombasa. Do I feel the plight of doctors? Yes, I do. But I feel more the plight of the people of Mombasa. I have no say on what Treasury can be able to allocate for interns. I cannot put a gun on the president's head and insist that. But what I can be able to do is pay your salaries on time. I can be able to make sure that where promotions are due, I get them done. I can be able to ensure that some of you are out on study leave and still being paid by the county government. 50-something of doctors currently being paid salaries, and they're still out there. We have done our part. Promotions since I came in had already started taking effect. Salaries are being paid on time. I have no debt with KEMSA or meds. I've paid. I've invested so much money on the NHIF for the people of Mombasa. And then, how does it feel when I see you not going to work and the reason that you're going to use is because of national government not being able to pay for interns? It is unfortunate, but we will have to take action.
What action?
Disciplinary action.
Against the doctors?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. My loyalty is to the people of Mombasa. I've done what needs to be done. As governor, I have done what needs to be done. Doctors striked in Mombasa. They held Kamkunjis during my first month. I think the first month I'd not even settled down in office. And as I was saying, we always had a problem of Mombasa not paying doctors on time. And I said, but I've just been sworn in. And I'm going to fix the problem. Did I fix the problem? I fixed it. Did I fix the problem of doctor promotions? The promotions are actually ongoing. Did I fix the problem of ensuring that our hospitals have medicine, that I have no debt with KEMSA, I have no debt with meds? I fixed it. Did I not honor my pledge that the people of Mombasa are going to get cover through NHIF? I paid NHIF and I ensured that anyone who is from Mombasa is at liberty to get that cover for free, without bias, without discrimination. How do you expect me to look at you when after I've done all this, for a fault that is not mine, for a fault that is not under the premise of the county government leadership, and you decide not to go to work? I pay your salary. The people of Mombasa because I can assure you, if it is equitable share, it is never enough to run this county. It is the little money that I collect from the dukas, it is the little money that I collect from the cess points, it is the little money that I collect from the parking. That is what keeps us moving, from the drainage systems to everything else that you can think of. from here, my next meeting is with the Commission on Revenue Allocation, so that we can talk about increasing our equitable share as a city county, as a county that is handling all these others. You invest so much money, you talk to private donors, and you put up a trauma center for children. You go and open newborn unit at Port Reitz. You go and open another newborn unit at Coast General Hospital. I declared and I honored my word that no child under 5 years should be charged in Mombasa from birth to the unfortunate time that, if they're to die, under 5. And what happens is every single hospital then sends its bill to us as a county government. I have 47 health facilities. Every one of these facilities sends a bill at the end of the month to the county government, and we reimburse you. So that I'm asking the hospitals to close down because they cannot be able to afford. We pay. Now I do all that, and you expect me to smile at you for striking for a mistake that was never mine? No.
Have you raised it with the national government?
But I mean, first of all, I'm the one who hires the doctors. Point to note.
But you said you understand where they're coming from.
I understand their concerns, but I can tell you.
What would you advise them? How else
can I give you a layman's example on this?
Yeah.
I'd really love to give a layman's example on this. Media houses in Kenya right now, let's not go worldwide. We've been having a challenge right now. National government is one of the people who has to pay you the most. County governments thereafter. So if management and someone is trying their best and they're trying to make sure that payments are coming in, all this is going to be able to be done. Can you imagine a situation where every single employee from the Standard Media Group goes haywire and says, guess what? Regardless of anything else, we're going to say whatever it is that we want to say. Does that give you a right? Just because you have a right to be able to hold, what do they call the knife that does these surgeries? Do I feel for them? I do feel for them. Do I wish things were going to be able to be sorted out? Yes, I do wish that things were going to be able to be sorted out. But wishes, if wishes were horses, beggars would definitely ride. And this is the situation,
Okay. Governor Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir, the governor of Mombasa County, has been our guest. Thank you very much for tuning in. More conversations coming up in the next hour. It's 9:05.
Spice up your life.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler?
Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
Well. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in
Below, you markati kadikta. This character called liar.
he has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyang.
Amen.
Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay you for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom? I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to, she's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
What's up? How are you?
All right, so traffic in the city this morning. Where are we right now? Coming off of Thika Superhighway with a little bit of that was left, then heading towards the tunnel. That seems to be sorted out. Also on the Muru Road, just a little bit of that left here and there. We're looking at traffic then coming in on the Eastern Bypass, and that's going towards the Outer Ring Junction, and some of that coming in then from Cabanas and North Airport Road. Let's keep an eye on things as we get out of traffic hour in no time. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, # The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
10 after 9, on to the final hour of The Situation Room this morning. Asante sana for joining us, and karibu onto this final leg. If you're just joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Radio Garden, on SpiceFM, you're never too late. You can still catch up with the previous conversations on YouTube and on Facebook, because you'll find them there. We also have our website, www.spicefm.co.ke, and we also have the podcast on standardmedia.co.ke. Showmax says Kamata, no, Shika.
Well
There's
done.
a difference.
There is a
Kamata
difference.
and Shika.
One would hope. Attention! For the love of entertainment, get ready for an unmatched viewing experience with Showmax. Immerse yourself in a world of endless entertainment options. So with your movies, watch your favorite series and more in crystal clear HD quality on multiple devices. Depending on what you pay for every month, you can have it on 1, 2, 3, 4 devices. Stream on 2 screens simultaneously or download content for offline enjoyment. And for the die-hard football fans, don't miss out on the Showmax Premier League plan, offering live matches, highlights, and exclusive fan content right on your mobile. So visit the website www.showmax.com or download the app on your App Store or Play Store today for top entertainment. Indeed, Shika Showmax.
Kabisa. The next conversation is going to be about Sacco, not Circle. Sacco, Savings and Credit Cooperative. Savings and Credit Cooperative. What's the O? Organizations.
Sure, it can be.
It is.
Organization.
Yes.
Sawa.
The co is cooperative, isn't it? Co. It's CO. Cooperatives.
Savings and Credit Cooperative.
Yes.
Okay.
Savings and Credit Cooperative. So it's Sacco.
Yes.
Co.
Yeah, co.
Cooperative. Dr. Gamaliel Hassan is the CEO of Stima Sacco. Stima Sacco is a big one. It's a Stima deposit taking Sacco, and he's our guest. Hassan, good morning.
Asante, good morning to you.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much.
You'll tell us about one of the biggest Saccos in the country. And I speak like this as the member number 002737 of Stima Sacco.
Repeat that again so I will write it down.
0020737.
All right.
Niko ndani pale. Kama mshikadau.
You did not know.
I did not know what Sacco.
I did not know what co meant cooperative.
They just know Sacco, Pesa, Tosha.
Essential members. Yeah.
Sacco, Tosha. That was enough. But we're going to talk about the Sacco and what you're doing. But listen to CT. He has the day's proverb. This week, the proverbs are from the Republic of
Algeria.
And the capital of Algeria is?
Algiers.
And the language is spoken in Algeria?
Zikombili, Baba.
Okay.
They speak Arabic. And then they speak a language that is akin, what you would call a language of the Berbers.
Kibeberu.
It actually is called Tamarzit.
Tamarzit.
Yes, that is the language.
Okay.
Arabic and Tamarzit. Yes.
Okay.
And 85% of the ethnic population of Algeria is actually Arabs, and 15% are Berbers.
Okay.
Yes. There's a long history about the movement and how it is the Arabs ended up there. But then it's a story that is similar in many of those countries. When you're talking about Morocco, you're talking about Algeria, you'll find that the stories are not that dissimilar. Even if you go to Libya, you'll find the stories are not that similar. Yes.
Same.
Yes.
Okay. The proverb?
The secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
A secret for two is soon a secret for nobody.
Yes.
Yeah. Daktari, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
That's an interesting one. It just means that the secret for two is, it just means that only one person can keep a secret.
Only one person can keep a secret?
Yeah.
You know, even as we've been saying, you're absolutely right though. But ask yourself, how do you arrive at this knowledge and then you assume other people don't have it? Like, I'll tell you something. What I find interesting in an institution such as this one where we work, you may have a committee meeting discussing something that you think is for the welfare of the organization, and it's within the members of the committee. The meeting ends, and a minute later, not 10 minutes, a minute later, someone sends you an SMS. I hear that this is what is happening.
In your meeting.
I think, hey, now, how on earth did you
get wind of this?
Exactly, and this is someone you work with, but you're asking, you are not at that meeting. So how are you privy to this?
Is it possible too that if you look at the context of innovation and the way ideas come and sprout around, you might think you are the sole, owner of that idea, but the same idea, somebody else millions of miles away has come up with the same thought process.
It is very, very true. It's very, very true. You have a board that you work with. Have you never come across a situation where a board makes a decision and you are surprised that people who shouldn't be privy to that information actually have that information? Has it ever happened to you?
Definitely.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Secret. Nothing like that. Nothing is a secret. Dr. Hassan, please tell my friends here and others who are listening in, what is Stima Sacco?
First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Interestingly, Eric, this is my first radio interview. I've done TV, podcasts and the like. So this is my first time to be on radio.
You're doing the same. This is TV, it's podcast. Now you just added the radio.
So I've added the radio bit on it. Yeah.
So never go for any other.
All right.
If it's not holistic,
we leave it at that.
Right? People talk about 360.
Yes. This is the 360.
No, this is 720.
I'll just try to do a calculation of 720 degrees to get to know where I land. I'm not so sure. But I hear you. Yes. So Stima Sacco is the second largest Sacco in Africa by asset base. Our asset base as of close of last year was 59 billion shillings. So we just crossed over the 60 billion mark. We made a revenue of 8.9 billion last year. For you who are our members, and this is the key difference probably between a Sacco and other financial institutions. First and foremost, a Sacco is a member-owned institution. So we don't deal with customers. We actually deal with members. And the members have shareholding in it. And if you have to look at that perspective, we had a net payout last year. Out of the 8.9 B we made a payout of slightly above 4.06 billion shillings back to our members. We have around 12 branches across the country. And we also have about 72 agents. We partner also with various banks and other financial institutions. Basically, Stima Sacco is what you call a financial institution. As much as we are a Sacco, anything that probably you'd be able to get in any financial institution, including a bank, you'd be able to get at Stima Sacco.
How many members?
We have more than 200,145 members as of the close of 31st December. Quarterly, we add an average of 6,000 members. So we have added 7,000 new members between January and April of this year. The membership spans across all segments. We do even have membership in the diaspora. We have about 6,000 members in the diaspora. Half of that would be in the US. Another 1,300 in the Middle East, and quite a big chunk in the UK, and of course across the globe as well. I'd like to say that we have members in every continent apart from Antarctica.
and you're heading there soon.
Hopefully, sir. Inshallah.
What are the origins of Stima Sacco? Stima is electricity.
So I'd like to answer that in two ways. First and foremost, we began in 1974, so we are turning 50 years this year. Initially, we were a Sacco for the East Africa Power and Lightning Corporation, and that was back in 1974. And the thinking back then, and you can imagine, I don't know what year you're born, Eric.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. All right. So you can imagine in the 70s and the 80s opening a bank account. How strenuous that would be for an indigenous Kenyan.
He was just coming of age to start opening a bank account.
In fact, it was a very tedious process. But it was even more tedious for women.
Why?
Who do you belong to? Your father, your husband?
Somebody had, you had to be introduced by someone.
You had to belong to someone.
You had to be introduced.
Right.
Okay. So let's say I was introduced by my parents to the bank where they banked. Okay. Now imagine a situation where your parents don't have a bank account, because many people didn't have bank accounts then. Okay. And even when you have a bank account and you're a woman, the problem will begin when you want a loan. They'll now want someone to verify and certify. Usually it's a spouse.
That should belong
You didn't have one, you have a problem. You are not going to get that loan.
Because surely you can't be a person without having belonged to another.
It's like if you don't belong, even you cannot be loan worthy. They were very interesting times. Very. But I have to say this though, when you were a teacher, let's say, and your account was the National Bank, these were banks for civil servants. Once your salary had hit there for 6 months, you automatically had an overdraft what was the equivalent of your salary. Yes. Now, my salary at that point in time was 2,200 shillings.
And you had an overdraft of 2,200.
Well, I had to have someone to explain to me what they meant. I had never come across the term before, so I didn't know what it was. The only thing that was a problem to it was the receiving money I understood. Having to pay for it now became a bit tricky.
So, okay, back to this period then, Hassan.
Yeah, so picking from there, you can see it was difficult to actually open an account. Actually, if I was to look back at the history, when I go talk to our initial founders, they'd actually tell us that for most of them, payment was made by cash. So you didn't have a bank account. You were paid cash at the end of the month, and then you'd look for some place whereby you're going to place this money, under a pillow, under a mattress, somewhere. And opening a bank account was very difficult. And that meant there was no financial inclusivity. You can think the basic things you need to do right now, borrow money, save, you're unable to do that. So that's why Stima Sacco came into being. It was predominantly for those who were unworthy, as correctly stated, to be banked. So the 10 people came together to form this so that they could be able to pay school fees, buy a car if you wanted to buy a car, buy a house. That's just the very basic aspects of finance. So that's where we were born from. So over the years, when it reached the year 2010, regulation actually changed. Just like we have the Central Bank of Kenya that regulates the bank, there was the birth of SASRA. SASRA is the Sacco Society's regulatory authority. That's in the year 2010. That enabled we in the Sacco sector to now partake into what in quotes we'll call banking business or front office services. Now, we still maintain the name Stima, and this is the way I like to look at it, that all of you, I see you have gadgets around you, and you have phones, and I'm sure your listeners probably have a phone or a gadget somewhere. So what do you use to charge these phones with?
Charger.
A charger. A charger, you plug it to the wall, and what is in the socket? Stima. So any person who charges his phone, his gadget, any person who uses electricity can become a member of Stima Sacco. In the year 2010, year 2010, we opened our common bonds. So remember, the East Africa Federation didn't work. So we went back to Kenya Power, and then from there it split into KenGen. Then you have GDCs, the REAs, the Ketracos, up to 17 other companies that were born from that East Africa Power company. And then from then, we've opened up our bond to everyone. I'm sure if I was to walk around the studio, I'd be able to, like correctly you've stated, as a member of Stima Sacco, and there are very many others. So from the year 2010 onwards, we've managed to open our common bond. We're actually the first Sacco to actually do that. I'd honestly tell you 70% of our membership is not even in the energy sector. Is everyone else. So it's business people, the bankers, look at Kenya Airways, the hoteliering industry, the business people. If you go back to Kibra, Jamana Choma Mei, that's our member. The person who's there selling fish, that's our member. So we've actually managed to open our bond to anyone who uses electricity.
And why is it so successful, this idea of people coming together and putting their money together? And then what would you attribute the success of it to? Because, I mean, you talked about it, 10 people coming together many, many decades ago, and then it's grown into easily the largest, most successful in the country, region. Why? What would you attribute that to?
It's a question I'm asked quite a lot. I tend to think I'll put it to two things. Number one is necessity, and number two is governance. Why do I say necessity? As a Sacco, we have a bit of restriction in our business. Like I said, anything a bank does, we do. We'd actually consider to do it better than they actually do. Apart from two things that we have restrictions on. Number one, we don't have access to the national payment system. That means a lot of our products are white labeled, meaning if I give you a checkbook, an ATM card, if you are sending money through an EFT, an RTGS, somehow there has to be a middleman, which probably is a bank. So that has forced us to be very innovative, extremely so. So you'd find like Stima Sacco as a good example. We do have 2 mobile platforms, 2 mobile apps. We've partnered directly with PesaLink to be able to transfer money. We've partnered with more than 6 banks to be able to do quite a lot that you're unable to do. So that element of necessity makes us very innovative. And coming back to the history that we started from 1974 and thinking about the 10 people who tried to get access to the financial services and are unable to do it, then there's always been a gap within the industry that we can play in. And that gap means there are individuals who for a very long time of period have been considered unbanked or not what you being in the banking, unbankable, right? So those are truly our members. And what we aim to do, for example in Stima, for you to join you just need a share capital of 500 shillings, just 500 bob. So if you have a 500 bob share capital, our aim is to create you to be the next millionaire. So we walk the journey with you, tell you the benefits of savings and credit. So we walk that journey, and that for us is the most important thing that we actually have to do. The second thing was really about governance, and I think governance is what differentiates Stima with any other financial institution. If you have good corporate governance, if you're able to distinguish between the roles between the management and of course the directors, that by itself gives a lot of comfort for any would-be member. Very key is that I do believe we are not in a business of selling money. We are in a business of offering trust. So, and that's very, very important for us. So if you place money at Stima Sacco or any other Sacco, we should be able to offer you back your money when you need it. We should be able to give you back a very good return when you require it. And that money has to be accessible for you anytime that you actually require it. And apart from obviously the technological bit of it, making sure you have the correct platforms and everything, is to have a very good governance framework. So maybe my last point on this would be, if you to look at our board as a very good example, our chairman is the CEO of Kenya Power. Our vice chair is the CEO of Kengen. At any one particular time, I have between 2 to 3 CEOs sitting in my board. So that truly helps. And of course, a lot of senior managers who come from various sectors across the industry. So that adds a very good layer of ensuring that from the very onset, you're dealing with the institution from a governance perspective, has benchmarked itself in a world-class way.
How many union leaders do you have in your board?
So far, none. We don't have any union leaders.
And why is that so?
The very key thing about the SACCOs is we have 7 principles. The most important one is that you voluntarily enter and exit. Number 2, very important, you are democratically controlled. So what does that mean? It means for you to be in the board of Stima Sacco, you must go through a democratic process of being elected. So out of our 200,000, 145 members, we have 350 delegates who represent the 200,000 members. And then it is the 350 delegates who end up now carrying an election process for you to be in the board. So it's not inconceivable not to have union members, but it's just a process of the democratic process of who best do the members and who best do the delegates think would actually sit in the board and act on their interest.
It's a long way.
It is a long way, and the process that you speak of makes sense because the opportunity for a union leader to actually be on the board exists.
Yeah.
But they must place themselves to be elected.
They must be trusted by the delegates.
And the members, start from the lower bit, the members need to have considered that they are eligible to move to the next level.
Yeah.
Yes, so, yes.
Let's take a break. We'll continue the conversation shortly. It's 9:30. We are hosting the CEO of Stima Sacco. Okay, the full name is Stima Deposit Taking Savings and Credit Cooperative Organization. Dr. Gamaliel Hassan is the guest. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Lights. Digger. Action.
Check all your favorite local and international TV shows, movies, and every Premier League game live na Showmax.
I feel the need for speed.
Shika whatever you want to watch, whenever you want to watch it, wherever you are na Showmax.
Answer is coming.
Shika Showmax come rain or shine kwa simu, kwa tablet na kwa smart TV for as little as just 300 shillings per month. Kushika Showmax, download the Showmax app to your phone today. Shika Showmax, streaming for Africa. Sign up on showmax.com.
Do you have the passion, the interest to tell a story to the world in your own style? Well, we're ready to take you in and help you grow your talents in the media industry. The Standard Group, in partnership with Talanta Institute, is offering a media training and incubation program courtesy of Standard Talanta Academy, where we nurture and guide industry talents on an array of topics from writing, reporting, media law and ethics, investigative journalism and research to the Kenya Copyright Board, Kenya Film Commission and the Kenya Films and Classification Board legal frameworks. To apply to the Standard Talanta Academy.
All right, so coming out of traffic hour right about now, just a little bit of it left here and there, except on the Eastern Bypass where there's in and outbound traffic trying to connect to the outer ring, so that might be a bit of a sticky spot for some time. And also then coming in from Landis going towards Kamkunji at the roundabout, that looks just a smidgen busy. And also looking at traffic then having diminished coming off of Survey through towards the Pangani underpass. You'll be fine there. Going towards Muthaiga Square from Kiambu Road is where the last of it is left, as well as on Limuru Road trying to get then through Muthaiga into the city. Apart from that, we've done well on traffic today. Remember, the message continues to be through today. Be extremely careful. Want to make sure we preserve as much as we can. We'll talk through the morning on SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
26 minutes to 10. The conversation with Dr. Hassan, the CEO of Stima Sacco, continues. Siti, you had started a question, and I feel like you were about to continue this question. It was in the lines of the depth and composition and the mix of the board of Stima Sacco. Yes. And also, there's a question that has been sent to me also. Why does Stima have the power and Kenyan CEOs as in the board, yet majority of the members, according to the CEO, are not even in the energy sector?
Oh, they are in the energy sector. He clarified that.
Majority?
Yes.
70% are us guys.
Yes, but us guys, we are in the energy sector because we consume energy. You see, he explained that very clearly. To be in the
energy
sector,
consumers.
Yes, exactly. Okay, because in the absence of the consumer, then that sector doesn't have any might, does it? So it was understood that you have to have a composite body that represents everybody. Then, so long as you have a socket and you consume electricity in some form or the other, you're eligible to be a member.
So.
Now, there are those who actually work in ensuring that we get the power. That's their role. Our role is to consume it.
Okay.
If we don't consume it, they don't have work.
Nisawa.
It's really not complicated.
Nisawa.
Sawa.
Ask phase 2 of the question.
Yes. Phase 2 of the question was talking about representation again. We have unions, we have people who head unions, and and they represent the interests of the workers. So my question was, phase 1, are they in the board? And he said, no, there is a process by which people are elected. Now, the moment you bring in the election, then clearly representation already exists. Meaning somebody has to present themselves to be elected. And those who elect have to decide that you are worthy to be elected. Okay? And there are layers to this. Okay? My question, where then do you find in this structure of yours people who are in the position of union leaders being in this system?
So you'd find a lot of them in the delegate system. So as parcel of being in the delegates, as I'd mentioned, we do carry out elections within the various zones that we have. And these zones are across the whole segment. So what we've done is to categorize our members. So we have members who are like business people, we have groups, we have chamas, we have members who are coming from the energy sector, non-energy sector, companies, check of companies, And it is the members who end up electing these delegates. So within that system, then you'd find a lot of what you're looking for. And then also in the board, it doesn't mean that it is only senior managers of these institutions who sit in the board. Also across the board, you'd find members who are above 60 years age, who are representing those who have retired, who we think are very, very important component of our membership. Actually, if I was to look at that, they save almost 3 billion shillings in terms of.
So are they also elected, or is
definitely it's an election process.
Affirmative action.
That's what I was going.
Everybody is elected.
Affirmative action.
But when you look at it, then
for the elderly,
if you speak of affirmative action, you see that at any one particular time you have gender roles being 60 to 40% in the board. So if the process is fair, free, and transparent, it does take care of that. If you're to then go into management, even in terms of how we do the hiring process, we don't necessarily say that we are seeking this particular gender to be part and parcel of the institution, but you'd find that 51% of the total staff in Stima Sacco are male and 49% are actually female. So let's go into managerial roles. If you go to managerial roles, I'm talking about senior managerial roles, you'd find 55% are male, 45% are actually female. So I think for me it's about the processes that you put in place to ensure that if the processes are transparent, if you're looking for employment, for example, if you're looking for internship at Stima Sacco, you don't need to know anyone to actually get an internship position. You just draft a letter to the HR, you'll be considered. Last year alone, we did more than 90 interns who went through the process, and we do that almost every year. So, and again, if you have to look at the gender representation, you'd find it's almost 50%, pretty much also the face of Kenya.
Okay. I want to ask about the financial performance. You said in the last financial year, you had revenues of 8.9 billion shillings.
Yes.
What does revenues mean?
Revenue. Well, revenue is the amount of money we make from all the income that we generate. So, how do we generate income? In three major ways. The first one is that we are a savings and credit cooperative. So we emphasize on the word savings. It's a culture that I know in this IG age, instant gratification age, whereby every person wants to drive the latest V8
Very important.
Today. No, they want to drive the latest V8 yesterday, yet they started working today. I mean, it's all there. It's all in the social media. And we still think that this traditional model of savings is very important. That for you to create wealth, that you need to save fast, that you cannot just walk over and become a millionaire just like that. You cannot spend 20 shillings and probably bet on something and then get 10 million, 100 million, and that cannot be the plan for you to create wealth.
Right.
The
Even
plan,
if it may work.
yeah, it could work. One in 10 million. One in 10 million. But let's talk about the other 9.9 million that it doesn't work.
Sure.
So we are there for those 9.9 million people, and you're saying, give us your 20 shillings. We can tell you a plan of how to save this 20 bob every single day, so that at the end of a couple of months, you have something sufficient. And then from that you have saved, then you can come back and say, okay, hold on, this is what I've managed to do on my own, me alone. 20 bob a day times 30, 600, probably in 3 or 4 months, I have 2,400 shillings. And I seek something else from you. So from the 2,400 that you saved with us, that's from the example of 20 bob, we could probably lend to you anywhere between 3 times of what you've saved up to, we even have a product of 10 times. So I'll probably lend you up to 24,000 of what you've actually saved. So that's where the income is coming from. So the income is coming from us lending to our members, giving various products. We have mortgages. If you have a long-term mortgage of between 20 to 25 years, you should be able to get that. We're actually partnering with the Kenya Mortgage Finance Company for that. So we give a mortgage facility for as low as 9% on a reducing balance every year. 9% per annum. Yes,
yeah.
The question like that.
I can see you thinking.
Right.
Yes.
So, has Stima Sacco, even Saccos in general, have they morphed from where it was people putting something together? Have they morphed into an alternative to what one would call the traditional financial institutions?
All right. So I think the two questions are related. So the answer is yes and no. Stima Sacco is anything a Sacco is, a traditional Sacco. But Stima Sacco also offers anything any other financial institution would offer.
Right.
So the traditional sense of having, like a round table, a merry-go-round, and we're able to save and co-guarantee one another. You don't have a collateral, you do not have assets. You're seeking to buy a car, or you're seeking to buy land. You look for one person comes to us, but looks for 5 people to guarantee them. Yes, we still do that. And that is a very critical component of being in a Sacco. And the idea behind it is that not everybody has a piece of shamba somewhere, or has a piece of, although I'm also sure that they still have the shambas with all the rains that we've seen. But the idea behind it is that you can be able to have that model, but over and above that, you can also bring in collateral, which is now your, for lack of a better word, the banking kind of narrative. So we do a bit of both. I tend to think that for us, we have attempted to sort of ring fence our members so that anything that they require for their own financial, we call it from the cradle to the grave. Our mission is to empower members for life. That means from the time you're born until the time you meet your maker, that journey we need to be there for you. So then what kind of financial products and services do we need to offer you so that at the time you're 1 year old, or the time you're 75 or 80 or 90, we are still with you within that journey. So we have managed to plug that in. So back to the issue of the income. So the income, number one, is on the financial, the loans that we issue out. Number two, we also offer investment income. So if you have, remember, we're really pushing you to save. So the individuals will come and say, but hold on, I've saved quite a lot of money. I don't need to borrow anything from you. So what is in it for me? So for them, we do have various savings products, including holiday packages, investment income, fixed deposits accounts, all of that we actually offer them as well. And then the third bit obviously is the transactional income that we generate on a day-to-day basis. Like I've mentioned, we do have mobile platform, we do have internet banking. All of that, when you combine it together, generates that kind of revenue that you're talking about. So the revenue is actually the income that we've made from all the businesses that we've generated. And as I've stated, about 47% of it we pay back to our members. So from the 8.9 billion, we did pay back 4.06 billion to our members.
I can attest. You talked about you want to walk the journey with a member to becoming a millionaire, billionaire, financial independence and all that. Do you offer that financial planning service to your members, the 200,145 members? Do you offer the one-on-one consultancy? So what is your dream? What is your ambition? The first thing I want to do is I'd like to own a home. I'd like to do this. I'd like to take my children to school. I'd like to take myself to school. This is the planning that I have. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years.
So amongst the 7 core principles of being in a cooperative, is member education. Again, it's one of the key things that will differentiate any Sacco with any other financial institution. We are mandated, we are obligated, it's mandatory to offer our members financial literacy and financial education. And we do this on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. We do have an annual program that actually involves us moving around to where our members are, having a physical engagement with them, whereby we can be able to just train them a bit about this element of saving, save fast and borrow later. So save, borrow, then invest. I mean, that's the journey you need to have. In addition to that, with the advent of post-COVID, there has been a lot in terms of going around this virtually. And remember, I also mentioned that we have more than 6,000 members who are not physically here in Kenya. And maybe that's also an important point I should have raised, that for you to become a member of Stima Sacco, all you have to do is to become, all you have to be is to be a Kenyan. So if you're a Kenyan, anywhere in the globe, you're a member of Stima. Also, if you're a non-Kenyan living and residing in Kenya, you can also become a member. In addition to that, if you have a group, a chama, a cooperative, we also have them as members, in addition to other Saccos, smaller Saccos that we have them on board as members. So
a Sacco can be a member of Stima?
Yes, we do have Saccos who are members of Stima. We also have companies that are members of Stima. KTN can become a member of Stima Sacco as a corporate itself. Right? So in terms of offering financial coaching, that's very critical, therefore. It means that you're just not there to give money and lend money for the sake of lending. It is ingrained in us to ensure that we get to know exactly for what purpose this money you're going to use it for, and to actually advise you on what we could consider to be the right way to actually invest it. So we do have a lot of those discussions. If you're to visit any of our branches, you can be able to see any of our branch managers. If you call in at any particular time, you can walk in, you can call, and somebody will be there just to map out whatever issue you have, and they should be able to offer you that financial journey. So our team has been coached quite a lot around financial coaching, just to be able to talk beyond lending to a member. You're not in a business to lend to you, but you're in a business to sort of offer solutions that you're actually looking for.
So in 1974, like you told us, when Stima Sacco was founded, there were many people who were unbankable and banked, right? Nowadays, with this current generation, they have access to financial services from banks. So why would you tell someone to join a Sacco? What's the benefit of joining a Sacco?
All right. There are many benefits of joining a Sacco. The first benefit of joining a Sacco is that you are an owner of that Sacco. So you're not treated merely as a customer. So you're not walking in and you're a customer who has no say regarding the very running of that institution. So I think that's one of the very key benefits. This is ownership oriented. Number two, it also means as an owner, you do have a return on investment. So, and that's why at the end of the year, comparatively, how many businesses would give back 47% of what they make? Most will not do that. If you're just to look at the amount of, and I know we are in a dividend declaring period for most companies, the question you should be asking is, what percentage of your revenue have you given back? I don't think there are many companies or any companies that will beat what Saccos are actually offering in terms of return on their investment. The third point is a very critical one. Remember, our role is to encourage savings and credit. So we are here to build you and not just to take from you. So that conversation is very critical for us. That journey of moving you from, and I have many classic cases. I was born and raised in Kibra. Maybe I should have said that at the very beginning. And I was actually born on the other side of the railway line. So in a place called Olympic, and used to live in a place called Soweto. So the names can tell you quite a lot of where I've come from. So we could see the kind of lack of inclusivity depending on what side of the railway line you're living. And that's what Saccos are trying to cure. And they're saying, hold on, how many people can actually still afford in 2 days, day and age, to walk into a financial institution and open an account? Not many can actually do that. So our role therefore as Stima Sacco, and looking at the memory of where I also come from, is actually to cure that, is to ensure that those people who feel that they still cannot be able to be banked are actually banked. Another point that is very critical, in today, you've seen the CBR rate. I don't know if you've checked the latest percentage of the CBR rate. I think it's stuck at 13%. So that's what, that's the rate.
That's the base for the banks.
That's the base. How much money is being charged as interest?
CBR plus 4.
Plus 4, minimum.
At the very least.
Minimum.
17% upwards.
So our model is very different. Our model is not based on the CBR rate in any way. Our model is based on how much average cost of funds I'm paying for, which is the dividends, the rebates that we're paying off. So you'd find that in the Sacco sector, the average lending rate is 12%. And remember, in the CBR is 13%. So that already is a very big bonus for you to be in the Sacco sector. And I think the last point is that, again, as we've mentioned, the issue of financial literacy, financial awareness is very key for us. Educating our members in terms of moving them from where we found them to somewhere better is something that we actually do. So there are very many reasons for being in a Sacco, but for us, and let me speak for Stima now, for Stima Sacco, is that once you're in Stima Sacco, you close any other accounts you have. You don't need them. Absolutely you don't. You want a checkbook, you're going to get it. If you want an ATM, Visa branded, if you travel, if you're going to Nigeria, Namibia, you just walk in with your Visa branded card, you still get money from any ATM in any currency. If you're paying online, you just need an ATM card or a prepaid card, you're able to get that. So it begs the question, therefore, why would you need to open any other account if you already have a Sacco account? If you're looking for a visa, say, in the US Embassy, that's a good classic example. You can come to Stima Sacco and request for a US statement, and the embassy would be able to treat that just like any other bank statement that you do have. So, again, there are many reasons why you could choose a bank, but I think there are even more reasons of why you should be in a Sacco.
Right. So the Sacco movement has grown, and it has grown quite significantly, like we said. And looking at a place whereby it's safe. Why is it so safe? Why? What's the safety net here that is over and above everything else?
All right. So I'd speak of two things. Number one, as I've mentioned, we do have a regulator, SASRA. They use the same standards that CBK would use on the banks. So that's very key for us. So, and that means, therefore, what I'm trying to say is that, and I should have also mentioned this at the very beginning, the Sacco sector, the financial cooperatives are what you call in the deposit-taking Saccos. These deposit-taking Saccos are divided into two. The first one are the deposit-taking Saccos. We are 180 of us regulated by SASRA. And then we have others called non-withdrawable deposit-taking Saccos. These are Saccos that have more than 100 million shillings in asset base, but are not allowed to have a front office or a banking operations. And there are about 179 of them.
Why are they not allowed?
Because they are not yet matured enough to offer that particular service. For you to offer a banking service, a front office service, whereby you are picking money from members of the public, you need to have met certain criteria. The most important one is that you need to have sufficient core capital. The core capital required is by law about 10 million Kenya shillings. So hold for it.
What is it, this core capital?
The core capital is the amount of money you have put in as a business to start operating, the bare minimum that you should have.
So in your case as an individual, you're saving?
No, this is for the Sacco.
For the Sacco.
For the Sacco.
The Sacco is required.
For it to be able to have that facility and offer it to its members.
Yes, agreed. Okay. For Stima Sacco, our core capital is 10.3 billion Kenya shillings.
10.3 billion Kenya shillings.
The regulator expects you to have 10 million shillings.
Okay.
I feel like I need to repeat that.
I'm smiling. When you have a Sacco that has exceeded the minimum requirements, the question then, what do you say? Because they've exceeded it.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And you need now to do a comparison. Again, if you're to list the number of banks in Kenya, which are 39, just list them by the asset base, then put Stima Sacco there, would be larger than most of the banks in Kenya.
And yet you bank with the bank, don't you?
Yes, and that's the anomaly that we are hoping to cure. And there's a discussion ongoing currently, and I know the cabinet has approved the Sacco Societies bill. It went back machinani because it is cooperatives are devolved function. So they went back to the governors to have a look at that, which they did. They've given a go-ahead on it. The discussion now is back to Parliament, then to Senate. The idea behind that bill is a very simple one. The weakness that we have, the limitation rather that we have as a Sacco, is the lack of access to the national payment system. That is it. If you go to more developed nations in the UK, if you go to Canada, actually the largest credit union, which is another name for a Sacco in the world, is found in the US. It's called the Navy Federal Credit Union. You can Google that. asset base is 18 trillion Kenya shillings. There's a Sacco outside there with 18 trillion Kenya shillings. The largest bank in Kenya, asset base? Not even 2 trillion, right?
Yeah, 1 point something.
Yes. So what do they have that we don't have? Access to their own national payment system. The national payment system is when you send money from Stima Sacco to your bank, it needs to go directly. If I send Stima Sacco to your Sacco, the money needs to go directly. But because of lack of that access, we need to have a middle player, which happens to be a bank, which potentially could be a smaller bank than us, so that we're able to close a transaction. But having said that, and we thank the government of the day, because we now have a cabinet secretary in charge of cooperatives and MSMEs, and one of the key things that they have pushed through is to have the Sacco Societies bill go through, at least through cabinet. Inside that bill is one very key component, is the component of enabling we Saccos to finally be part and parcel of the national payment system, and that becomes a game changer.
When you bank with the banks and they declare their assets and they declare their yes, you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I
and
can see that.
Yes, exactly. and they declare their financial base. Part of it is your money, isn't it?
Definitely, a big part of it is.
Okay. So,
and then just quick on the safety question. I mean, of course, we've had some horror stories in the last couple of years. What's the guarantee that a Sacco is not going to trot off with your money?
The first safety net is to ensure that, as I had mentioned, we have two types: the deposit-taking Saccos and the withdrawable deposit-taking Saccos, who are regulated by SASRA. So for you as a consumer, the first thing that you need to look at is this Sacco regulated? That's very critical. Are you dealing with the regulated Sacco? If the answer is yes, it means in terms of the threshold of safety and the safety net, that has already been increased. And as I've mentioned, the regulator SASRA has the same stringent requirement. I only mentioned one, which was the core capital. We have ratios, liquidity ratios that we need to ensure that we keep through. We have something called institutional capital ratios. A good one, again, maybe Stima is a good example. The required liquidity ratio for the industry is 15%. We as Stima Sacco have a liquidity ratio of 92%. Lastly and not least is to ensure that you have a proper governance structure in place, ensure you can be able to go through, look at the books of account, ask the hard questions when they come through. Go to our website, go check and see what kind of information is actually there, so that you can be able to say that, yes, I've picked the right Sacco to be at.
Dr. Hassan, thank you for joining us.
Asante sana.
To join the Sacco, go to the website, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Stima-Sacco.
Yeah, that's it.
Number 07.
Organization.
Organ number 20.
Naongeze shares.
Dr. Gamaliel Hassan is the CEO of Stima Sacco. He's been our guest talking about Saccos and the performance of this particular one. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. It's 10 a.m.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga. Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif has warned that he'll punish striking doctors. Speaking on SpiceFM, Governor Nasir said that his government has been paying doctors who have a contract with the county government, and it's not right for them to continue striking under the pretext of defending the interests of doctors who've not been paid by the national government. He said that all the doctors working in Mombasa are employed by the county government, so they have no reason to strike and endanger the lives of patients.
Doctors striked in Mombasa. They held Kamkunjis during my first month. I think the first month I'd not even settled down in office, and they were saying, we always had a problem of Mombasa not paying doctors on time. And I said, but I've just been sworn in and I'm going to fix the problem. Did I fix the problem? I fixed it. Did I fix the problem of doctor promotions? The promotions are actually ongoing, Did I fix the problem of ensuring that our hospitals have medicine, that I have no debt with KEMSA, I have no debt with meds? I fixed it. I can assure you, if it is equitable share, it is never enough to run this county. It is the little money that I collect from the dukas, it is the little money that I collect from the cess points, it is the little money that I collect from the parking. That is what keeps us moving.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu has been summoned to appear before the National Assembly Committee on Education. Mashogu is expected to meet the MPs for questioning regarding the effects of a last-minute communication announcing changes on school opening dates. On Monday, the Ministry of Education made changes to school opening dates to Monday next week. A circular from the ministry was sent out at around 1 a.m. when most parents were asleep and others had already made a move to take their children to school. This attracted public uproar over the timeliness of the communication. Two high-ranking members of the U.S. Congress have written to House Speaker Mike Johnson to have President William Ruto address a joint session during his impending visit to the United States. Michael McCall, Chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, filed the request in a joint letter with Gregory Mix, a ranking member of the committee. The duo termed Ruto's address anticipated on or about May 23rd as timely as Kenya and the United States mark 6 decades of diplomatic ties and cooperation. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga, and here are the sports news.
Chance here, there's the opening goal, rifled in by Martin Odegaard, linking beautifully with Kai Havertz.
Good morning. AFC Leopards chairman Dan Shikanda has criticized some of the club supporters for their misbehavior, which resulted in significant fines for destroying property at Nyeri National Stadium. Leopards have been temporarily forbidden from using any sports facility until the fines for the fan destruction during the Mashemeji Derby are paid. Shikanda is concerned that in addition to the loss, bad conduct is undoing the process his team has made in terms of re-engaging fans in the stadium. The chairman also stated that if the supporters do not improve, they will be compelled to increase security during the game. In preparation for the highly anticipated Olympic Games in Paris this year, the Athletics Integrity Unit has undertaken a set of tough measures aimed at ensuring fair competition and maintaining the sport's integrity. The rules dictate that all athletes seeking to compete in the Olympics complete at least 3 out of competition tests. The Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya will administer the test, which will be documented in the Anti-Doping Administration Management System. As athletes aspire for excellence on the global scale, adherence to anti-doping legislation remains critical, guaranteeing a level playing field for all competitors and sustainable